acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect this message. Amen. Amen. Hello to everybody, whether you're watching on TikTok, YouTube, if you're on with us on the podcast, we appreciate you. I'm Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And we thank you. We're grateful to you. We appreciate you all for being on with us. And we're continuing our FAQ series. Before we get into that, once again, we give all praise and honor to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we're thankful and grateful to each and every one of you for being on today. To Marshawn, Malcolm, Betty, Isabella, and Solomon, Daddy loves you very much. And to Lottie Dottie and everybody, whether it be those who are moderators on different platforms, those who are part of the community. If you're not part of the community, if it's your first time watching, if this is one time of many, if it's been a long time and you're coming back on, if you're watching this live, etc., we thank you. We appreciate it. And we honor your presence today. And we are continuing our FAQ series, frequently asked questions, and we're things that people that have questions, and as far as culturally, right, how we would converse, how we see this, how we look at this through our culture, through our cultural prism, through lens, etc. And today, I want to talk about as a topic something that we're going to use to answer a lot of questions. We're going to use this topic today that's called spiritual. Let me make sure I say correctly. Spiritual food distribution. This is something based off of genetic food distribution, which is a term that's used. Today we want to talk about spiritual food distribution, right? This will answer a lot of stuff. Why is it that you guys feel this needs to be said? Why is it that you guys are talking about these things? Why is everything have to be dealt with through the lens of culture, et cetera, et cetera? And we're going to talk about that today. Shalom to everybody. How you doing, Dawn? How you doing, Jay? Or I'm sorry, to Sister Beverly. Excuse me. How you doing, Jacob, Helen, Sharice, John, Anubis, Divine Queen Mother. Hello. How you doing? Everybody who's on. Once again, everybody on TikTok, YouTube, and the podcast. We appreciate you, and we want to talk about this spiritual food distribution. Now, what I mean by that, because a lot of people hear the word spirit and they automatically click off because they don't know what words mean. And a lot of people who think that they're spiritual and not religious and all this stuff, they don't know what religion means or spirit means. Religion just means what a legion does repetitively. So if you go for a run every day, if there's a legion of people that go for a run every day, then you by definition religiously run. If you drink coffee every rising when you get up, and there are a bunch of other people do, then guess what? A legion of people do it. If you do it repetitively, then you religiously drink coffee. Religion is something that we've kind of messed over to make it something super mystical instead of something that's actually practical. If you talk about spirit, pneumatical thought, pneuma, these are Greek terms people don't recognize. The word pneuma, even in the Greek, is talking about I got something in my beard. The word pneuma is something that we're talking about. As far as pneumatical thought, pneuma, literally the word pneuma, meaning the stoic thought that marries the mind or the spirit, the body, and the soul together, which means that you can't talk about thought process, you can't talk about theories, etc., without talking about pneuma or spirit, pneumatical thought. Or even talking about psychology. A lot of people don't know the Greek word psyche, which you say psyche, is actually spirit. It actually means soul. So psyche means soul. So people will say, I don't believe in the soul. That's spiritual mumbo jumbo. But if you believe in psychology, psyche, the soul, and logia, right, or logic, which is the study of or the logic of what? The soul. So if you go to a psychologist, that's what the psychologist does, is they study your soul. They've studied many people's souls. They've read books. They've gone to college to talk about the soul. And then they therefore talk about it with you. So you have to talk about the culture of it, right? Because if you're going to talk about being Freudian in any way, shape, or form, then you must see what he says about your soul, including your children's souls, right? We talked about before how Freud literally made up terms that you use today, like somebody's anal or something like that, not realizing that anal is talking about that Freud taught that a young child is supposed to be somebody that's wants to have sex with his own parents, can't have sex with their father, so then tries to have sex with their mother, realize they can't have sex with their mother, and so they act out. And then once they get older, then they say, well, mom and dad wouldn't have sex with me, or they won't, so I'll have sex with somebody else. This is Freud's talking about anal, being anal or anal retentive, or if you say somebody's acting anal or tight or whatever, puckered, all this stuff, that's where that comes from. That's why there's that sexual lingo on it, which is why if somebody says something sexually by accident while they're talking, you say they have a Freudian slip. That is the soul of his conversation. How you doing, Miss Mac? Thanks for being on. How you doing, Christine? How you doing, Bounty? Oh, I'm sorry. Said the same thing. Sister Sharon, how you doing? Benjamin, how you doing? How you doing, Sister Deja? Everybody who's on all platforms, we appreciate you today. Thank you in advance for all the likes, for the shares, for any gifts that you might give. Those of you who even give donations, come to classes, help us out in the community, help us out with giving people food, clothes, etc., helping us to develop land, all those things. We appreciate you today. And thanks for stopping by and listening again. How you doing, Sister Bree? Everybody who's on all the platforms. So if we're talking about this thing, we have to talk about spiritual food distribution. Now, once again, it's based off of gene food distribution. I don't know if it's actually called genetic food distribution, etc. This is something that I've actually learned through listening to Dr. Sebi. And Dr. Sebi actually used this. If you don't know, Dr. Sebi is somebody who's into natural food. I do not agree with his whole lifestyle, but I do believe in what he says as far as us being able to live off of natural food and take care of ourselves and live longer lives and not have to deal with certain things that come through modern or Western theology, which has become known as Western medicine. And in the religion of Western medicine, a lot of stuff is stripped. And there's this context. To set up context, let's go with this sept that's become a concept, which is that basically food is, well, put it this way, like the natural food is taboo. Now it's becoming less because people are now selling you your culture. The reality is that there's this thing that says if somebody's about their nature, if somebody wants to look like themselves, somebody wants to put their hands in the ground and grow their own food, if somebody says, I don't want to have something that is not natural growing inside of me or being used to fix me or heal me, etc., even though, modern medicine says that we don't heal anymore, we have an issue, we have an argument about it. And it's become something that's designed, right, to take you away from your nature. And so what happens is that basically Dr. Sebi, who's selling products, the FDA didn't want him to sell products in the United States of America. And he ends up going to the Supreme Court. And I believe this is actually the New York Supreme Court. But, nevertheless, he goes to a Supreme Court and they're trying to basically hem him up, sell him that he can't sell his product, this and that. You're not a real doctor because you didn't go to our schools, etc. And but they don't want him to sell his product. He says, okay, cool, I get you. I'll go to the court, whatever. And he actually ends up winning by representing himself. Doesn't have a lawyer. When we talk about sovereignty and stuff, people say this stuff doesn't work. Dr. Sebi actually is proof of sovereignty being able to work if you comprehend how it works, because he went in and he began to talk about the Most High. He began to talk about how the Most High presents natural food and things like that. He begins to talk about how that there are sharks in the water that don't eat meat, like a nurse shark, right? He begins to give an argument based off of reality, out of natural law. We've talked about this before, those who take sovereignty, how you got to go kingdom law, marital law, universal law, natural law before you get to substantive law, which gets you to public and private. He begins to speak these things, even though he's not using that specific terminology. He's speaking the language of the system that he's in while simultaneously not being of. How you doing, Sister Barbara? I was watching one of your videos today. This rising. Great job in posting. And so he speaks to these things. He speaks on these things. He speaks about these issues. And how you doing, Big Brother Thomas in the house? Great teacher and friend and servant of the Most High and son of the Most High. And so he begins to talk about those things, to speak on those things. And one of the things, but what he gets to is ultimately what really gets him in a place of getting the judge to listen to what he's saying outside of things I've already labeled is he basically says, hey, what about, he says, what about when you have um, gene food distributions? Because here's one of the things that happens. If you're ever going to go against government, against law, against somebody who's against you, all these different things or whatever, one of the things that you want to make sure that um, you get in place and that you get in order is that find something that you can agree on. If you can agree with certain things that they say are lawful, then that's when you go ahead, when, because they don't have anything else to say. You agreed already. So now we're not arguing over something anymore. Now we got to figure out, if we both agree on this, then why is it that you won't allow stuff to go through your own prism? So he says, yeah, the FDA shouldn't have me selling this food over here. The judge is like, excuse me? He says, yeah, I agree with the FDA. His mother had taught him this, by the way. Dr. Sabe's mother had taught him this mindset, right? I'm sorry, how you doing, Sister Rhonda? So he basically said, like, yeah, I agree with the FDA. I should not be allowed to sell this food in America. It shouldn't be over here. I shouldn't have to bring this kind of mentality and this type of food over here. The judge is like, do you comprehend what you're agreeing to? He says, yeah. Judge is flummoxed. How you doing, Brother Clem? Like a lot of people would, trying to figure out what in the world's going on here. Why are you agreeing? What's going on? What is the thought process behind this? Where is this going, right? He says, yeah, I agree fully, wholeheartedly, that I should not be having to bring this food over here. So judge says, well, what do you mean then? What's right? What are we talking about? And he says, well, when you brought Black people over here, and we would even say some of the people who were considered to be Black that were already over here that are indigenous, right? However, when you brought us to these places, to the Americas, he said, did you bring, when you brought the Black man over, did you bring the Black man's food? How you doing, Sister Kimberly? So when you brought the Black man over here, did you bring the Black man's food? She says, well, no, I guess we didn't. He said, okay. And if Black men are going through, or Black women are going through issues that nobody else is going through health-wise, could it possibly be because they don't eat their own food? She says, yeah, that makes sense. And basically because of that, he was able to therefore sell his product in the United States of America, because he was able to prove, right, without a shadow of a doubt, was something real simple African thought process, simple Afrocentric thought process, simple even native indigenous thought process, right? Because his mother is even indigenous to the Americas. His mother's part Haitian, right? So she's Taino, indigenous, different tribes and stuff we can go into. But long story short, she is somebody who's indigenous to this land, mixed with a bunch of stuff that is here. So she's from here too, and her people are from here too. And so he simply says, yeah, if you brought people from somewhere else, or if the people that were here, you told them they can't have their own food, if I'm simply just giving them their own food, then what's wrong with that? And therefore he wins the right to be able to go through that. Yeah, that was very brilliant, right? And so using that same logia, or that same logic, right? If we're going to confess certain things, homologio, if we're going to make sure that we realize what's going on and become one with it, if we're going to do those things, then this is what I want to focus on today, right? What he said is about that is very true. I want to talk about spiritual food distribution. Spiritual food. So he was talking about genetic food distribution, that different people need different things because of how we are genetically built. I know people want you to believe that everybody is exactly the same and skin color doesn't matter, right? And I'm not saying skin color automatically means you're from somewhere, but what I'm trying to get you to comprehend is that everything in your body comes from something genetically, and therefore there are certain foods and things that even have, your body has DNA memory that it looks for, that it's trying to get something from. And if you're missing certain things, you're missing certain nutrients. If you're not eating certain things, you're not getting enough iron. If you're not eating enough certain things, you're not getting enough magnesium. If you're not eating certain things, you're not getting a lot of what you need, right? Exactly. And so a lot of medicine is not going to give us what we need. Well, the same thing, how you doing, Minister Selection? The same thing applies when we're talking about genetic food distribution. We want to talk about it, apply that to spiritual food distribution. right? We want to talk about spiritual food distribution. See, because a bunch of people were stripped of their culture, or a bunch of people were taken from their culture in all parts of the world. And when you're taken from that, did you bring over the spirit? Did you bring over the spirit of things, the pneumatical process, the thought of things? Did you bring over, if you're going to take somebody's culture, when you brought, I'm going to focus on the American side of diaspora. We know this happened all over the world, right? But when you brought people over to America, or even if you want to go to places when you brought people to Brazil, or took or killed off the Brazilians that were there, or took away their culture. When you brought people to Louisiana before it was part of American, Louisiana was a huge piece before that Louisiana Purchase. When you took over those people, when you took over the Lakota, the Dakota, the Choctaw, the Aztec, the Inca, etc. When you took over the Gala, when you took over the Ashanti, when you took over the Kush, even though the Kush were technically not really ever purely, truly taken over. I mean, Marxism kind of did them in. Nevertheless, when you did all those things, did you bring their culture? How you doing, Sister Miko? How you doing, Sister Ultra? Did you bring their culture? Did you bring their spirit? Did you bring what they believed in? Or did you just simply take pieces of things and go into Nicolaitans doctrine? The very thing that we're warned about in Revelation chapter 2, twice in Revelation chapter 2, a doctrine that says that that's Old Testament, that's New Testament, because we don't like that, so we say it's old. You know, we don't like that, so we'll take those verses out the Bible, get an NIV and see if you're missing any chapters and verses out of your Bible. We'll take this, but we'll make it a slave Bible, to where anything that says that you should be able to make sure that you fight for your people, it will be taken out completely, but we'll leave the stuff in, and we'll put in new words like slaves. And when you see this, you'll see how slaves are supposed to listen to their masters, but you won't talk about how to treat the slaves, even though that word slave wasn't even originally in there, right? We're going to take a piece of these things, right? We're going to take pieces from here and there, and we're going to utilize them. So we're not going to distribute the food, the spiritual food, the way that you need it. We're going to tell you that you are nothing, while using the things that made you something to hold you down. And it goes on to this day, right? Right now, things that used to be your everyday, your ancestors' everyday activity, are things that you were told to hold away from. Thank you, Sister Deja. All right. Are things that you were told to stay away from, to steer clear of. Things that used to be your everyday confession, which is something that now you think you have to go through some priest to get, is something that you did all day, every day. Look at the laws of Ma'at if you need any further evidence. These are things that you used to do. It was mandatory that you would start your day off confessing powerful things. Now you look through somebody else's prism and they call it, mantras, even though that's not even theirs either. But they call it mantras, or they call it affirmations. But that used to be your daily walk. Every rising, you did not get up without confirming, without saying these things. Right? Yeah, tried to break their spirit, if not just have them not even think about their spirit. This is why people don't even comprehend. If you talk about the spirit, you're talking about pneumatical thoughts. You can't talk about psychology and pneumatical thought without talking about a soul and the spirit. And when you brought people, or took things away from people as you broke them while they were here, did you make sure that you gave them a dose of their spirit? Is it not an interesting thing that one of the worst things that happens all the time, how you doing, Sister Mary, is that we have been conditioned to believe that we should, now I'm not saying we shouldn't have any accountability, because it's on us to get us together. It's not on somebody else, right? However, is it not interesting, family, that we are people who believe that we should make sure that we should talk about how bad we are, how terrible we are, our bad condition, this and that, or whatever, but we should never mention the fact that we were fine the way we were. Somebody came in and messed you up. And then when you began to fight enough to where it wasn't conducive to keep you enslaved in chains, but only to mentally enslave you, they left you and then told you it's okay to mentally enslave you because look how bad off you are. When the reality is that you took pieces of what it is that we use to make yourself great, and you never gave us what is whole. You want to know how I know this? You never gave us that is whole, because we have cognitive dissonance about our own selves. Thank you, Jefferson. Appreciate it. Right. We have cognitive dissonance about ourselves, and people who are trying to be holy don't even recognize that the word holy, you better put a W before that H. You can't talk about being holy if you're not even one. How do you become one if you don't know who you are? How do you become one if you don't know who you are? Your Bible, right? Read your Bible, it'll bless you. Your Bible says, be ye holy as I am holy. How do you do that? How do you do that if you don't even know the whole Ginyame, if you don't know the whole Alakam, if you don't know the whole Yahaba? Heck, if you're going to be in something else, why are you talking about Kemetic stuff? Those of you that want to be Kemetic and in the Kemetry, how do you talk about Kemetry and you don't even know the difference between a God and a Netcher? And you're out here talking about you're a God. If you're Kemetic and in the Kemetry, you don't believe in God. You believe in Netchers. And you believe ultimately that one Netcher gave birth to all Netchers. Thank you, Bounty. Appreciate it. You hear what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. Hallelujah. Right? Like we don't comprehend what's going on because we have what? We don't have proper spiritual food distribution, just like genetic food distribution, which is if you take somebody from somewhere, you got to make sure you bring their food with them. Then how you talk about a spiritual food distribution if you don't take their spirit with them? Right? Like, how do you do that? How do you function in that? How do you become greater in a system that says that we are clearly going to ensure that we take you away from self, and then at the same time we're going to ask you to heal self, and then we're going to be involved into the same people that broke you down. We're going to say we're going to build you back up. No, we have a problem. This is a system. Matter of fact, this system is so sinister that the people that are fighting to keep it, who go by the social construct of white, if they believe in such things that they have to tie into every other white person just because they're white. Well, if you're somebody who even upholds that, you got to think to yourself that these white people that told you you were white had to basically break you down too and make you a part of yourself and have you believe that it was okay for you to be mentally enslaved while others were physically enslaved. Right? So why is it that we have to speak on these things? Why is it some people say, why do you have to talk about this so much? And they say stuff like, this is it's partial, right? We're hollow. Exactly. We're not whole. We're not whole. We're hollow. We're missing pieces, right? We're missing pieces on the inside. We look like something on the outside, but we're missing pieces to this thing on the inside. Somebody will come up to you and say, why are you talking about things like the social construct of race if you don't believe that the social construct of race isn't real? Well, I believe that the system of racism is extremely real and it has extreme results. And we need to talk about these things and stop acting like these things don't exist. Right? I believe that male chauvinism is something that came into existence. I believe that there are people that believe that they're white, even though white is not even a color. It's only in modern times that we actually started believing that white is some kind of color. White is the absence of color, or it is something that you can look through. It is not actually a color. But you had to teach people that they were a color that doesn't even exist and then put these people in positions of power. Of course, we're going to have a damaged system, but this was done purposefully by real white people. Because as I said, white people have no color. White people you can see through. White people are almost invisible if you don't catch them at the right light. So therefore, if you want to talk about the real white people, you got to look for the people like the Rothschilds, the ones you don't even know their names. You have to look for the people that don't show up on your Fortune 500 list. You have to look for the people that are way past Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates or whatever other billionaires you want to put up there. You said our religion was taken away, our diet was changed, our language was changed, our names were changed. Exactly. Right. And so now here's the issue is people are getting mad. And this is the spiritual warfare part. The spiritual warfare is to deny you. The war is to deny you your culture, to deny you your people, to deny you your language, to deny you your spiritual food. Your physical food, of course, right? But even to deny you your spiritual food. That's what this war really is, right? To get you to believe that you are the problem and to get you to believe that your captor doesn't even exist, right? To say that we want people to be in Stockholm syndrome. This is what spiritual warfare is that we want people to be in Stockholm syndrome. Can I say that again? Just for the people in the back, people that might be coming in. the spiritual warfare is that we want people to be in Stockholm syndrome. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to the man that put the whip on you. Pay no attention to the stripes that are on your back. Pay no attention to the fact that you're working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Pay no attention to the fact that you're asking for people to teach you who don't have time to teach you because they're just trying to survive. Pay no attention to the people supposed to heal you, but they can't really heal you because you're in a system that says that if they heal you, then they can't say that then they're actually doing something against federal guidelines. Pay no attention to the people that make the federal guidelines, even though the people that make the federal guidelines are part of a fake corporation, because you can simply just look that up. What is that? I hope I get the numbers right. I believe it's 28 USC 3002 15A. And look up that the United States is a corporation. If you do more research, you'll find out that the head of the corporation is in the city of Washington, D.C. It is a fake corporation. Pay no attention to being a non-citizen national, even though you should be that, so you can make sure that you're not dealing with benefits and privileges. Pay no attention to the fact that your birth certificate isn't real, and we know it's not real because you have to authenticate it. If it was real, it would be authentic already. Pay no attention to being Stockholm syndrome, and this is a big, huge spiritual issue. We don't have spiritual food distribution, just like we don't have genetic food distribution. If somebody takes you from from somewhere, or somebody takes your food from you, you will have health issues because this is what you as a people eat in order to stay whole. Right? This is what you need to be able to make sure genetically you can exist. Well, if somebody takes away spiritually what you had, then you're going to be missing some spiritual nutrients, which are going to cause, we know, spiritual and pneumatic thought, the stoic thought, the mind, the way the mind works, it goes into the brain, right? Through the mind, through the pineal gland, goes into the brain, which therefore through the brain, you have physical manifestation. And so if we don't give you the proper spiritual food distribution, your physical food distribution is off. Amen. Yeah, it has to make sense because we're not going off of facts without context, and we ain't gonna go off context without facts. Thank you, Sister Barbara. We're gonna make this thing live. How you doing, Jefferson? You said good point, especially with social media, putting out filthy pics and giving them likes. Most def. Right, it's mental warfare. Once again, look up the word spirit. The word spirit is pneuma. The word pneuma is talking about stoic thought that marries the mind or the spirit, the body, and the soul together. So you can't even talk about it. We really want to get in depth for those who like Greco-Roman mentality on this, right? Because we're using a Greek word. Well, if you want to go into a Greco-Roman thought process on it, they comprehend better than you because they comprehend, right? And better than even a lot of white people who don't comprehend this. They comprehend, if you want to go by the social constructs, they comprehend, the people that are really in charge, they comprehend that the spirit affects what? The mind, the body, and the soul. The mind, the body, and the soul. Do we have any book recommendations? Well, something I'm talking about as far as the mind, the body, and the soul being together, I would say get any book written by Dr. Laia Africa. My wife, she's the herbalist, so I'm not sure the names of all of them, even though I've read excerpts of them. I'll be honest, I haven't read the ones that she's read. I've read some pieces of them, but anything by Dr. Laia Africa, LLAIA, last name AFRIKA. Anything by him, and you're gonna be on point, right? As far as being able to see a cultural representation of how one should eat and how the body works, giving you, because he was a doctor, he was in the military, he comes from the system, just like I come out the system, just like a lot of people come out the system. We had this stuff removed, and then when we started doing research on our family and actually started talking to people and going back home and doing a lot of stuff and being accepted back in our tribes and all that stuff, and you start realizing who you really are. Yeah, so he's somebody who I would say anything that he's written. Dr. Laia Africa, once again, LLAIA, last name AFRIKA, Dr. Laia Africa. And, and so we have this spiritual warfare where, once again, people want you to have Stockholm syndrome, but it's not just regular Stockholm syndrome. It's to actually act like the kidnapper doesn't exist. It's not just to fall in love with the kidnapper. It's then to get to a place where now the next step in the process has become to lift up, to not even lift up the kidnapper. We do that anyways, but then to act like the kidnapper wasn't our kidnapper. See, before, it used to be Stockholm syndrome was something where it was terrible because you're supposed to fall in love with the person who kidnapped you. Now it's become you're supposed to deny that you were ever kidnapped in the first place. Except broken souls are already defeated before the physical war starts. And what is the soul attached to? See, we're talking culture here. What is your soul? What is your psyche or your psyche attached to? When you study the psyche, what is it attached to? It's attached to the spirit, the ravak or ruach, or the pneuma, and it's also simultaneously attached to what? To the body. Right? As soon as your body dies off, your soul and your spirit that are attached to each other, they fade. That's why even your Bible says to be absent from the body is to be present with Adam, to be present with Yahweh, to be present with what we would say the Lord. This is the truth. This is the reality. This is what the ancients taught. The ancients of many different cultures taught. It's only till recently to where it became that people had to become the gods. They had to become the deists. They had to flow in trying to make themselves netchers. They had to flow in trying to say that Gi and Yame is not a real thing. Gi and Yame, by the way, just simply meaning that there is none except, and really that's us saying there's none except the Most High. There's none except the Maker who made heaven and earth. Gi and Yame, we don't believe in Gi and Yame. We believe that now you are a God, but once again, God is not even your culture. God is a Germanic deity or Germanic deities, and they believe certain things in these cultures, in Norse theology, in Germanic theology, in Gaul theology, in Romantic theology, in Greek theology, etc. They believe in making themselves deities, gods, and that's not our culture. Right? And the places that it became our culture were problematic. I'm doing well, Cash. And even if and even in our culture, if you believed in multiple, you still believed that there was one, and that all of these netchers or all of these spirits, etc., they came out of what? They came out of one. So even in that, there was still a oneness to everything. There was still a oneness to everything. Even if you don't like what some other tribe or whatever said, there was still a oneness to where there could be agreement, because we have to get to the Gi and Yame of things. There's none except. And all the stuff that we argue, there's none except. That's why we say stuff like we got to make the main thing the main thing. Right? You're going to make the main thing the main thing. Hey, how you doing? Is it I forgot, is it anoint May? Anoint mine? I don't know if I'm saying that right. But thank you for being on with us and be part of the community. You got to make the main thing the main thing. And so there has to be oneness. That's what the word holy means. Once again, to be holy, you got to be whole. If you're not whole, you can't be holy. But how do you become holy if you're not even one within yourself? This is what the real spiritual warfare is that you were taken from somewhere, or you had things taken from you, whether you're talking about you were indigenous there or brought over from there, and you had yourself stripped of what it is. Now, here's the interesting thing. Once again, you had to teach the kidnapper, but the problem is that you taught the kidnapper, but you didn't give him the culture. You didn't give him the family dynamic. You didn't give him the culture. You taught people that it was okay to bathe, but you never told them that being clean in our culture means to be legal. If something is unclean, it is illegal. So you didn't teach somebody to clean themselves because they needed to be legal in a sense that they could fit into the family. You taught somebody to clean themselves so that they could go, or just that they're supposed to do it, but they never got the culture. So they cleaned up the physical shell, but never cleaned the inside of the shell. They are as whitewashed tombs, right? They are clean on the outside, but they have dead bodies on the inside. We talk about this, you hear people say, I know this saying, don't get on me. I'm gonna tell the truth about you. I know where the bodies are buried. What if the bodies are buried on the inside? Right? We don't think about that. That's why we say when we talk about reparations, I want you to get out the habit of waiting for somebody who has been telling you to do something for you and has shown that they will not. Right? Joe Biden ran on reparations. Where are your reparations at? Then somebody mentions it briefly in an article, and we start going, okay, cool, it's coming. It's not here. Even if it's going to come through them, I'm not waiting for somebody else to give me reparations. Inward reparations must start. We must get rid of the dead bodies that are inside of us. And thank you for the love, Bounty. We got to get rid of this deadness that's inside of us. There has to start a place to where you have to figure out what happened with the spiritual food distribution, just like we talked about gene food distribution, where genetically there's certain foods that you ate and they were taken away from you. And so now you're having a problem, whether you want to believe in spiritual DNA memory or generational curses, or just want to talk about the physical process of not getting what you need as far as nutrients. There's something wrong with this because we are lacking spiritual food. That is the real spiritual warfare. When somebody says, what is spiritual warfare? That's the real spiritual warfare. Is that somebody, the kidnapper, has been put in a place to where we say that they're either not the problem, or we say that they never actually kidnapped us, or we just have fallen in love with them to where you say, what can we do without them? And this is something that happens now where people say, we should try to do something. We should be better. We should take care of each other. We should sow into each other. We got tons of businesses within our own community where, if you need soap, so like just think of hygiene. If you need soap, somebody here makes soap. If you need shea butter, somebody here makes shea butter. If you need jewelry, somebody here makes beautiful jewelry, right? We've shown the product. If you want shirts, we got people that make clothing, right? That the donations go to make sure that we can keep building what we're trying to do. If you need food, we got people growing food. Let's trade food amongst each other. If you need medicine, my wife makes natural medicine. If you need stuff as far as healing or massage and stuff, we got somebody who does that too. We got all that, and that's just in one little area. We've got other people who, know how to do law, could probably help you with that, right? We got people that know how to help you up with social media. We have people that know how to do all these different things, and yet we don't do those things within ourselves because we're waiting on somebody else to give us reparation. We have it in our mind that the kidnapper has to be the person. We keep going to the kidnapper and saying, when will you give us laws? When will you give us our Stop Asian Hate bill, right? When will you give us our reparations? When will you give it? Like at a certain point, when do you utilize and execute what you have within yourself? And when do you start realizing that one of the first steps is you got to take what was taken from you, you got to take it back. The kingdom of heaven even suffers violence, and the violent took it by force. Where is your het? Where is your wall that you have set up to protect yourself? Where is your community? Where is your Adan or your Eden or your place to where you have part of the definition of Eden means that it was protected. It was protected. Where is your protection? Where is your land? We're working on getting land. Everybody talks about this stuff, all right? And we're working our behinds off to hopefully get enough tens of thousands of dollars to be able to get something suitable, right? We want, tens of acres, trying to work together to get it or whatever. And it's tough to get our own people to give, right? Starting to try and make sure that we give presentations and stuff to other people, having the thought process of, but I can't go to the government because we don't want the government touching it, but trying to have to go outside the community. You know why? Because sometimes, and we haven't done it, but I'm just saying sometimes that thought, I can see why that thought is there. We clown Kanye and other people for believing it, but we don't have a mindset that says that anything that's ours will support. Now, Kanye a little off with it, I know, but I'm just giving an example of how I can see how people in our community begin to believe that they need to do that. How you doing, Pearl? How you doing, Ransom? You said I'm in the house. I guess I'm. Oh, okay. Amen. Thank you. You said you're absolutely right. We are full of resources, and you can't come with lack or begging. Yeah. There's an example I give quite often. If you go somewhere, let's say you're going to go play blackjack, you go to the blackjack table. They say it costs $50,000 to play, and I'm just using constructs as people as constructs. For example, I know there's diversity in all this, but let's say white people come up and they go to get ready to play, and they come with 5 million, right? And then Spanish people come up, even though we know there's white, but we do this weird thing where we there can be Spanish people that are really more black, and Spanish people that are more white, and Spanish people that are more indigenous to certain places, etc. I know, but Spanish people come up, they have this, and Indian people come up and they have this, and Chinese people come up and they have this, etc. And what happens with our diaspora is that here we come as a diaspora, and it's 50,000 to get in. We only got 20,000, and we say, "Hey, y'all took this, and y'all took that, and y'all took our name, and y'all took our face, and y'all took our likeness, and you guys do this, and you guys did that, and so you guys need to give us stuff to play." And they're like, "Man, that's not how it works. You got to have 50,000. You only got 20." They say, "No." We say, "No, you should let us play. You should let us play." They're like, "No, we can't let you play because we're not going to lower what we determine the value to be." So what happens? They eventually say, "We're tired of hearing you talk. Okay, fine. Look, we'll give y'all, 10,000. Will anybody else give them anything? Yeah, okay, fine. We'll give them 15. Anybody else? Yeah, we'll give them 5. We'll give them this. We'll give them that." Okay. Now you can play. You can finally play, right? You can finally play. You play, but you didn't even try to figure out how to play blackjack, right? You didn't practice before you got there. You don't know the rules, right? And you even win by accident. You get an ace at a 10, but because you don't know the rules, you think that ace is only one instead of realizing it could be one or two, or 10. There's a 1 or 11. I might 1 or 11, excuse me. So you actually get an ace and a 10. You win, but because you don't know, you say hit me. Dealer looks at you crazy. Everybody else looking at you crazy, but also kind of laughing and sticking, right? And then you keep going hit. Then you gone over. You say hit me again. They say, well, you can't get hit again. Hit me again. And like, we can't hit you again. Like, you're done. We leave and we say, that's unfair. You didn't teach me how to do this. You didn't make sure blah, blah, or whatever. But imagine you say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to save up. I'm going to make sure I protect whatever I'm putting together. I'm going to invest. I'm going to do it outside of these other people because I don't want them to know what's going on. You come back to the table again as a diaspora and they look at you. They say, man, what you doing here? We told you how this works. They say, what? And and you say, oh, no problem. And you lay down 2 million. What? How'd you get that much to be able? Don't worry about it. Right now, you have a different respect. Why? Because you came to the table with what you presented. You came to the table with what you worked for. You came to the table with something that was abundant. It wasn't even just that what was the bare minimum. You came ready to where you could basically play all night. And now when you win bigger purses, right? You win, you take home more finances. You win and you do a lot more with what you win. And it means more to you to win because of what you had to go through to put yourself in that position. And you will never come back to that table again with anything less than what makes you respected ever again. You never will. Right? How you doing, Keith? How you doing, Mo Desire? Thank you, Flex Skywalker. Appreciate it. You said we have to affirm every day that we were born with abundance, wealth, and health. Right. So you do those things and you come back on your own. Why? Not because you don't deserve it. I didn't say that you don't deserve reparations. What I'm saying is that they're not going to give it to you. Right? They're still, right? Jews are still getting reparations for stuff that didn't even happen in your country, except, there's the rub, right? It actually did happen in your country. It just didn't happen in your country. What do I mean by that? Go look at Auschwitz and look at some of those pictures going into some of those concentration camps, and you will discover that on the train tracks, you'll see American names on some of those train tracks. So that not only did America know what was going on, but remember, even JFK's father, he filibustered. He didn't want America to go to war. They were supporters of Hitler. Remember, JFK, if you didn't know, he has a diary in which in his diary, he wrote out that Hitler will be remembered as a hero. I know that's tough for a lot of Democrats to be able to hear. That's why you can't be Republican or Democrat. You'll mess yourself up. Right? That's real. That's real though, right? They gave reparations, so they're still giving reparations to Jews. They're making sure, in a sense, they're giving reparations to Ukrainians right now. People from Ukraine that get flew over here, they don't even have to go to another country and then come in. They get flown right over here. And the black people, the African people that live there, they get flown directly out, right back to Africa. Ukrainians are getting jobs. They gave reparations to the Germans, who they fought against, because they needed the German technology to help them to be able to reach the moon and all this stuff that you believe that they did. Still paying them for helping them to become the best nuclear country, while they go to everybody else and telling them that they have to, do whatever. Okay, Materiums, that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you want a couple minutes of fame, sure. If you would like to discuss that, because everything you say in the Bible has to be fake. I hope that you can do so, like treating each other like human beings. So first of all, let me extend something that my culture says that I should do, which is say hello and greetings to you, because we should treat people like human beings. I think that somebody that can't even say hello to me shows closer to evil than greatness. So let's deal with that first. Let's go into humanity and let's make the main thing the main thing. So even if you come from a different contextual context or whatever, maybe we should make sure that we treat each other as human beings first. I don't think that's too much to ask. Maybe it is too much for you, but I would hope that it wouldn't be. Secondly, if your whole thing is the Bible doesn't make sense because two people can't start something genetically or whatever. Okay, my question to you is this, right? And this is why you got to bring your culture, you got to bring your way, right? Because evolution, by the way, is something that says that it would have started with two human beings at some point, anyways. And by the way, which type of evolution are you even using? If you're using evolution, I'm not sure if you are, but if you're using evolution, then here's another thing. If you're using evolution, when you say something is evil, what is the standard of evil? See, we got to bring our spiritual DNA into it. We have to bring our cultural perspective. How you doing, Cole? Thanks for being on. Right? You said wrong. Evolution does not say it would take two people to go back to college. I've been to college. I'm greater than what they teach in college, and I've gone to the stuff. So I know what evolution teaches. Are you into? Do you believe anything that Charles Darwin has ever said? Testament supports slavery, yeah, yada yada yada. The problem with that is first of all, there's no such thing as Old and New Testament. Somebody wrote that in. So you're still not answering my question. So let me deal with these quick quips that you're saying. Evolution is proven. Do you believe in anything that Darwin said? So you believe in natural selection, all that. Why is natural selection a thing? What did Charles Darwin mean by natural selection? You said then you admit the Bible ain't the word of God. I told you I don't believe in God. I believe in Elohim. That's two different things culturally. So you got to comprehend where I'm coming from. You're trying to give me something that is whitewashed and something that's being used and something that's not of the culture of the people that actually originally wrote it in the first place. So let's get it together. How you doing, Minister Tamara? Let's get it together. What does natural selection? Why did Darwin talk about natural selection? Nature selects what best suits us. No, that's not correct. I would say that maybe you might need to not deal with what they taught you in college and go to what Darwin actually said. By the way, Charles Darwin didn't go to school to be a scientist. The only thing that he actually got a degree in is basically being a preacher. So we probably shouldn't use Darwin or natural selection or any of these things that came out of it as an indicator of what you believe. But here's the deal. What is the title of Charles Darwin's most famous book? See how we have to bring things together, and we're talking about these things as if we know. What is the title of Charles Darwin's most famous book? Because we can easily tell you what his whole thing was about and the people that supported him. I know it's not all Charles Darwin, but the natural selection piece you're talking about is influenced by Darwinism. So once again, can you answer my question? You haven't treated me with respect. You haven't even said hello. You haven't even did these things. You've just saying you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. So even if you want to have somebody like myself listen, you should probably, you'll get more bees with honey, right? So probably treat me like a human being. Treat me with respect. I'm treating you with respect. I'm giving you this platform. I'm giving you your minutes of fame, right? So once again, can you tell me what the most, because this is what we use as the heavy indicator of what evolution is. If you want to talk about what Stalin believed, if you want to talk about what Hitler believed, if you want to talk about German person who actually got fired from the college that he was and started drawing pictures of things that weren't real based off of Darwinism, I'm not sensitive. You're the person that can't answer a question. I haven't denied you. I've given you greetings and respect, but you won't answer my question. Either you know the answer or you don't. But since you won't answer it, let me just go ahead and answer it for you. All right. The most popular book that Charles Darwin, no, you didn't. I said, what is the name of Charles Darwin's book? So the question is this. Here's the answer to my question. Because I've answered yours, I've answered your quips, and I've sat here and I've had you go ad hominem, because people that go ad hominem really show Dunning-Kruger effect, and it shows that there's going to be cognitive dissonance, right? And if you've gone to college, like you say, you comprehend every word I just spoke. So what I'm saying is this. Charles Darwin's most popular book is The Origin of Species. I'm sorry, excuse me, the Origin of Species, the theory, not the fact, the theory of evolution. And then what's the next part say? The struggle for survival of favored races, which meant that he wrote this system of Darwinism. ISM on anything makes it a system. So the system that led to other types, because Darwin, you're right. Darwin only talks about one of 6 types of evolution. There are 6 types of evolution, which I'm not even sure that you would recognize because you haven't talked about all 6, right? And by the way, it's a theory. It's not proven. It's something that's B. We know what A is. We know what C is. People can't explain B, so they put a theory in place. So this is what goes down. You have the theory of evolution, and that theory of evolution is there for the struggle of survival for favored races. Darwin didn't like black people. He didn't like people of color. He didn't like not just black people, people of color. He didn't like anybody he didn't consider to be in his racial class. And so he wrote a whole book to tell you why it was okay for us. He gave you a bunch of facts to show you why it was okay to contextualize anybody that wasn't in his group as being racist. His uncle hated black people and didn't believe in any kind of higher power, right? His cousin is the one who wrote the book on eugenics. Eugenics, that is the same eugenics that the French would use to be able to go against their own and say the country bumpkins weren't as great as they were, etc. You said none of that disproves evolution. No, what I'm saying is that the stuff you're talking about with natural selection, and most of it comes from Darwin, which means that most of that is not something that's based off of fact. It's based off of something to say that black people are wrong. Because now what he did is he said black people come from this ape, and this color people come from this ape, and this type of white person comes from this ape, and this type of Spanish person comes from this, and this type of Indian comes from this, but this Native American comes from this. This is what he did. No facts needed to be, nothing needed to be proven. It was something there to prove the fear that people had. Right? What did he say? Oh, okay. You said my argument is all based on one scientist? No, I'm okay. So question, do any of these scientists, this is, see what I'm saying? So this is a great thing for us to see how you got to pull your own culture, right? So question for you, do any scientists that are alive today, do any of these other scientists that are around, do they base their stuff off of Charles Darwin? Is watch this. Rudyard Kipling, who wrote the Jungle Book, and he asked for America. He wrote a note to America saying, you guys are going to become a world power. Keep Manifest Destiny. He based Manifest Destiny off of Darwin's book. Hitler and Stalin both said when they were schooled and learned what Charles Darwin taught, they said it taught them that it was okay to mistreat people. So you can talk about scientists, this and that, or whatever. I'm talking about a lot of the world's history and stuff that still goes on. Are there still Nazis out there? Are there still KKK members that say Hail Hitler? I'm wrong. Okay. Well, you're somebody that now is not studied, and I would say to you, respectfully, the same way that you said to me disrespectfully, I would say to you that you might want to not go to college, but you might want to actually study what these people said. Stalin credits Darwinism for what he did, and he killed more people than Hitler. You said I did not. You said I did not teach them to mistreat people. Show that proof. I didn't say that you taught anybody. Don't gaslight. Stay on Stay on target. Stay on target. Okay. I didn't tell anybody that you told them to mistreat them. I said that Stalin. Okay. Well, once again, so now you've shown that you basically don't have, you know what? Let's say you're 100% correct. If you being 100% correct means that I have to be mistreated by you, because I would dare say I would give you things that you won't read and look up, then it's something that we don't need to deal with. But I'm glad that we had this, because it shows our people why we don't have to worry about foolishness by somebody else who can't even hear you or treat you as a human being. Once again, the kidnapper tries to dictate the terms to the kidnappee, and we can't have that. So thank you very much. You won't be around anymore. Appreciate you though. Have a blessed life, even though you probably don't want to hear that, right? These are the things that we have to recognize. See, I like it when some of that happens, because it shows. I like it when some of that happens because it shows what we're talking about, right? It shows that. And his whole thing is go to college. Now, which college, by the way? You see that? Even that is a foolish thing. The same way that he said that there's more than one, you know what I'm saying? There's more than one scientist. You don't even recognize there's more than one college, and not all colleges are equal anyways. So that's what I'm saying. You have this genetic food distribution. The same people that came, or the same mentality that came and kidnapped you and told you not to eat spiritually what you eat, and then took away your spiritual food. This is how important your food was. This is how important your food was. And about those who were on the when we had the ministerial training, we talked about this kind of thing last night. Isn't it amazing how y'all works? We legit talked about this last night. If y'all were, those of you who were on, y'all remember we talked about that specific thing that happens and how you handle it. And people will out themselves, right? But this is how important your food is. That when you come to when people used to come over here and they would put their food in their hair. They would get their hair done and put the food in their hair because they weren't going to get the nutrients required. And they might need certain medicines and things. And so they made sure that their people had what they needed to eat. And that's something that's great because people gave us little spiritual indicators of our culture. You said the change of food will change the information that's coming out of the food. That's why they modified the food, because they know there was information in it. Well, yeah, also too, it helps with information to flow. If your blood flows different, right, by the food that you eat, then your brain functions different, correct? Right? You said, why are we still looking at them to teach us? If you want to know the truth, go look for it. Well, thank you, Divine Queen. Appreciate that. And I get you. I get what you're saying. But once again, even this, only those that really have ears to hear it will hear it. And that's what. Oh wow, thank you, Divine Queen. Really appreciate that. We have to get to a place. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, deal with inward reparations. Many people are walking around as whitewashed tombs. They're walking around as whitewashed tombs. They're clean on the outside with dead bodies on the inside. Somebody, like, I want you to think about this. See, this is why you got to have spiritual indicators too, and cultural indicators. This person who just came on with nothing other than to say you're bad, you're terrible, you don't know anything, you're this, you're that, go back to college, go back to this, go back to that, etc. Right? That person came out to legit just say all those things. That's all they could say. You're wrong. You're wrong. This person to do this as if like I've never researched, as if I've never gone to college, right? Or he said go back to college. I'll give him credit, right? But I didn't learn most of this stuff in college. I learned most of this stuff through my culture. They don't teach me in college. Hear what I just said. They don't teach me in college. I don't mean they don't teach me anything. I don't mean that you don't show. I don't mean that you don't go in debt trying to get an education that may or may not even be able to help your family. I'm talking about they don't teach me. They don't teach me. They don't teach me. They don't teach me. You hear what I'm saying? So why would I go in my mind? Why would I keep going back to a place where they don't teach me? The kidnapper doesn't teach the kidnapped. The teacher, the kidnapper trains the kidnapped. You hear what I'm saying? Why would I go back to college if college doesn't actually help? When you went to school, it's like the same person saying, go back, learn, what did they teach you? You should know that they taught you this in elementary school. Did they ever teach you how to have your own community in elementary school? Did they ever teach you your African language in elementary school? Did they ever teach you anything about Black history outside of Martin Luther King Jr. in elementary school, right? Did they ever teach you about writing a check and balancing a checkbook in elementary school? Did they ever teach you the value of owning land before renting out a little box to live in? Yeah, I know your box might have 3 bedrooms in it, but it's still a box, and brainwashing program, right? And that's why I got to be. Can I be sincere with you? I've got to start trying to brainwash our people. You know why? Because I've got to wash them clean of all this illegal dirt that's in their lives. Our brains are full of memories that have nothing to do with us. And we got to wash ourselves clean. We got to wash these babies clean. You said you don't arm your enemy. Yeah, we were and still are their enemy. Yeah. And we didn't recognize it. See, in our culture, when we met this enemy, we didn't recognize this enemy. They didn't tell us this when they came over, that they were fighting and killing each other off. How did we stand a chance? And they were fighting and killing each other. But we still taught, we still set up colleges, right? And we weren't perfect. We weren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying that there's a lot of culture that is missing. And just like there's gene food distribution that's important, there's spiritual food distribution that is important. You said they hid all the information from us. Dr. Youngman is talking about that right here because of who. They didn't come from college because they didn't want to know it looked like this, took stuff out of the Bible. That's why they did that, because they didn't want us to know. We spend our childhood learning and adulthood learning, unlearning to relearn. Yeah. And isn't that something that's interesting? Like, shouldn't your childhood be taught to you so that you'll learn things that you can build upon? But your childhood in this, no matter what your color is, by the way, your childhood is something that you learn something to get through somebody's system so that you can be able to job out or toil for them. Thank you, T's 2 cents. And then once you finish toiling for them and jobbing out for them, guess what the next thing is? Is that when you get to become an adult, now you got to unlearn everything. Like, if you're a phlebotomist, I'm somebody who used to work for a healthcare group where we taught people things, right? We taught surgeons, we taught people trying to do CPR, first aid, we taught people doing phlebotomy, we taught people who were surgical techs, dentists, etc. Right? And we could teach people things that they would take them 2 years to learn. We could teach it in 2 days. Things that it took people 5, 6 years, we would teach it in 2 weeks, right? Because we comprehended that certification is more important than education. For example, you know that you don't have to go to school for years to become a doctor. All you have to do is pass a test. Once you pass the test, then you start your actual 2 years and all that stuff, or however many years the state requires or whatever. But then you start your thing of, I'm going to be under somebody and work under them, and then let them say that when I'm approved. You don't need college for that. You know, you don't need college to become a lawyer. Most lawyers don't even know law when they finish 4, 5, 6, 8 years of school and then pass the bar and everything. All they had to do was pass the bar. Once that starts, then they start to learn law. You said, for the whole world was greatly deceived, even those who were deceived. Check out Yaju Judah on TikTok. I've heard enough about Yaju Judah. I'm not really searching him out. If Yaju Judah is the one that's saying that he is in fact Yashua or the Messiah, I'm checked out, because the Bible tells us the Messiah himself, Matthew chapter 24, verse 14, tells us what must happen before he comes back. And it ain't happened yet. So I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, but we got to get into a position to where we even recognize, once again, culturally, spiritually, like we talked about genetic food distribution. Where's your spiritual food distribution? Somebody took you and took from you everything that made you you, and then told you that anything connected to what made you you is bad. You said that he said he's Christ. I don't comprehend. Are you saying that he didn't say he's the Messiah? He said he's Christ? It's just one word. There are words that are different ways of saying the same thing. Well, if you're talking about Christ being anointed, well, you can say I'm anointed, but I'm not the anointed one. That, right? There's a difference in our culture between anointed and the anointed one. So I understand you're saying there can be a Christos pole. I can pray over this wall and I can say this is a Christos wall. I can pray over my body and say it's a Christos body, but I'm not the anointed one. Right? I'm not Yashua incarnate or reincarnate, right? I'll never claim that, because I know who I am. I know enough about me to comprehend how authority works, and I don't need to take the authority from the Christ. So I'll never be that. But yeah, if you say I'm anointed, I get that. Yeah, we're all anointed, right? That's why even, I can do all things through Christ, through the anointed one. I who am anointed, I can do what I'm anointed to do through the one who anointed me. There's a structure that comes into that. You said bishops and the Christian word come from Egypt. Well, yeah, what bishops wear for sure is Kemetic, but that's not anything new. If you know about where the papacy is, the main place, where the papacy stays in Rome and all that, you'll discover very quickly that there's a big old obelisk there. Right, just like there's a big old obelisk in the middle of Washington, D.C., which is why the Pope, when he comes to visit, he always gonna come through Washington, D.C. But that's a whole other thing. But we have to bring back the spiritual stuff that we weren't fed. Right? We used to be fed this on the regular. Like, for me to say Aleph Bet or Alabat, that would have been something that would have been a natural thing for you. That would have been a natural progression from childhood. Now we're having to teach people in in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, the Aleph Bet or the Aleph Bat. Those would have been things consistent. We have to recognize that the spiritual warfare, once again, is to try and make the kidnapper look like they are, in fact, the savior. That's why the person came on and was fighting so hard for evolution. He wouldn't answer. He wouldn't answer. I believe, you know what? I can't even say I believe it. This is my theory. I'll do what he wouldn't do. Instead of saying a theory is a fact, I'll admit that this is my theory. My theory, and listening to what that person or reading what that person had to say, and reading how they didn't value us as human beings, and reading all those things, is that they value evolution so much that even though he knows that the beginning of the book that he's basing all this stuff off of legit says that evolution is about making sure that people who are not white will not survive. That's what the title of the book is telling you. That's what the whole book is written out about. His whole thing was to defend it, because he is the kidnapper, has to, or even if he has the kidnapper mentality, if he could have been a Sambo spirit, I don't know, but whoever, or she, I don't know, but whoever that person was, they had to defend the kidnapper. Even if I gave evidence that the kidnapper is wrong, it doesn't matter. The kidnapper is supposed to be in power, right? Those of you who took, who were with us in class last night, who take biblical, or no, I'm sorry, who take discipleship with us, we went over that last night, what a Nicolaitan actually breaks down to, right? We talked about that last night with the word Nicholas. The name Nicholas actually means. And we talked about how we need to stay away from that if we're going to be disciples. Can you see now how somebody came through with a whole thing of talking about what Nicholas is, saying that they have to be over you, they have to tell you what to do, you're just laity, you're just a lay person, you can't do, you all see how that works? That's why we have some of these classes, because some of these lives we can't go as deep as what we want. But I promise you, like, there's levels to this. I'm sorry, you said you know all of this for a reason, because you are the one to save people, but you are one in a different part of the world. They have their own one. I mean, well, I don't know. I believe that Yahshua is the Christ, and we're going through him for everything. If the brother over here is doing it for his community and I'm doing it for my community, then we're one in that sense, right? You know, but you said the sad part, it's a lot of people believing the fool he playing the game. Yeah, you know, and we don't recognize, once again, we don't recognize the thought process. So his whole thing was the kidnapper has conquered you and you have been conquered. And this is what we teach as you being conquered. And you better sit down and agree with everything we say when we conquered you. That was his whole argument. Like for real, that was the entirety of the argument. We kidnapped you. You need to go ahead and make sure that you do what we said, the kidnapper. How dare you speak against your kidnapper? How dare you speak against your master, your teacher? How dare you speak against your owner? And he brought up in the Bible about slavery and stuff. The word slave didn't even exist when the Bible came out. And the people that are, who are in fact Israelites, they had laws to make sure that indentured servitude didn't go too far, because they just came out of slavery. You see what I'm saying? But we couldn't even get to that, because he was so busy trying to say, I'm the slave master, and the Bible's evil because it talks about slavery. It's like, but you're sitting up there using doctrine that has to do with somebody who believed that because I'm black, it's survival of the fittest. Therefore, if I get killed, who cares? Because I'm not the fittest in your eye. This is what this person was doing. I almost opened it up. I wanted the person to come on and talk, but I'm glad that I did. I wanted to see what they were saying in the chat first. If they had actually treated me like a human being with respect to the chat, I would have actually spoken to them as a human being. See, once again, we got to bring things from our culture. If you can't respect my culture, why would I let you disrespect it? Or why would I respect you in this culture? I will respect you, and I will never put you in a place where I would disrespect you. That means that if you would disrespect me and my people and my culture, and not even listen to stuff, and keep saying it's okay for you to basically try and put some kind of slave mentality over me and my people, I will never let you in to where my people are, because the second I let you in, that's the second we got to disrespect you, because we respect the Most High up in here. You hear what I'm saying? Hey, how you doing, Tuckwux? I don't know if I said that correctly. When we have conversation, hopefully you'll be able to teach me how to say it correctly, right? But you got to recognize that. Like when they say survival of the fittest, they're talking about Darwin. That's why I kept bringing up Darwin. See, this person was talking about there's more than one scientist. If you're a scientist bringing up survival of the fittest, you're talking about Darwin. Like we can make this whatever you want. You can try and make it whatever you want. If you bring up to me survival of the fittest, you're talking about Darwin. You're not talking about something that comes from us. You're talking about Charles Darwin. You can try and smooth that over all you want. You said you can't have a respectful discussion with a person who won't show respect. Yeah. Like if somebody's gonna disrespect you, would I invite if somebody's disrespectful to me out on the street, why would I have them come over my house? Right? Takwa. Okay. I don't know if I said that correctly either. But right. But I need you to comprehend if somebody's disrespectful to me in the street, why would I invite you into my house? So even that is our culture. But the kidnapper says, I should be able to tell you. See, look, the kidnapper says you were not the kidnapper wants you to believe you were nothing before I kidnapped you, even though you taught them. But the kidnapper says you were nothing before I kidnapped you, right? And you'll be nothing without me for the rest of your life. It sounds like an abusive relationship, doesn't it? You were nothing before I got there, and you ain't gonna be nothing now that I'm gone. You were nothing before I kidnapped you. You ain't gonna be nothing after I'm gone. This is the mindset. Yoma, you said greetings. You're an adult searching for truth. You appreciate what you're hearing. We're on every rising, except for Wednesdays. I take Wednesdays off, but we're on every rising at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We're on every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. And we have classes. We have different things we do. Excuse me, etc. And by the way, don't forget June 5th, this Sunday coming up, is going to be Shabbat. So that's going to be our. We're going to be coming together 2:00 p.m. Eastern New York time on Zoom. We've been talking about that for a while. That's 50 days after Passover, us keep it in accordance with the holy days, our culture, etc. So if you'd like to be able to join us for that, please feel free to come out and join us for that on Zoom. I'm not sure. It's probably too late notice to do something in person with people that are in the DMV area, but might come by and say hello to a couple of you here or there as we were traveling around before we head right back down south, trying to take a few days off of having to be on the road. I actually got to be on the road somewhat today, but not for 10 hours or so. At least it's only going to be probably for about 3-4 hours today. But we're thankful and grateful for each and every one of you. So yeah, this is something. You got to produce your culture. When somebody says survival of the fittest, they're talking about the 5th type of evolution. There are 6 types, right? The only evolution that I would even say that I would agree with, I don't even like using the term evolution, but if I had to agree with one, it's something that's not, I don't consider to be evolution, which is the 6th type of evolution is one where they teach, hey, if there are, the 6th type of evolution basically goes along the lines of this. If there are two, a male and a female of the same species, and they come together and they have sex, right? And then they produce an offspring. That offspring will look like both of them, but will also vary. So that's basically, they call that evolution. So say I would call it evolution, but okay, we can agree that 6th one, exists, right? But other than that, you got 5 other types of evolution, none of which can be proven. They are all theoretical. None of which can be proven. When the guy says there's evidence of evolution, I would ask for him the same way, or her. I'm not sure if it was him or him, so let me stop saying that. Whoever the person was, I would have asked for that person, have we been able to have actual discussion? I would say, present to me your proof. And if your evidence is, well, we have bones and we say that the bigger bones go down to the smaller bones or vice versa, I would say that's not proof of evolution. That just means that you lined up some bones from smallest to largest or largest to smallest. That's how they say that the orangutan came, after the, or before the gorilla or after the gorilla, or whatever. They just say we just line up bone sizes. But just because something smaller doesn't mean that it would have came before something bigger, right? Because you don't believe that in evolution because you believe that the dinosaurs. right, went down and evolved into birds. So just because something's bigger, right? But you also say that evolution is about survival of the fittest. So it used to be that they used to say, well, we have a problem with evolution because certain things aren't more fit. Like, but then, so then somebody else had to come up with something in evolution. It's just theory after theory. Somebody else had to come up and say, well, in order to become stronger in something, you got to become weaker in something else. Well, then it's not survival of the fittest anymore, because in order to evolve to be stronger, then you got to give up something that makes you weaker. See, but if you're not careful, then you say, okay, well, so a human being's not any better than, a bug, because in order for a human being to become stronger in this and taller and stuff, it had to give up things that the insect can do. But if you can squash an insect, and it's equality for all the species out here, well, if you can squash an insect, you can squash a person. Right? Like it gets into a bunch of different things. Right? If you have a fly, and by the way, it doesn't even make it sense. It doesn't even make sense. If you have a fly and a fly gets a third wing, or I don't know, some flies might have more, but let's say it's a fly that has two wings, and that fly gets a third wing on it, gets an extra wing, that fly can no longer fly. It can no longer take flight. If you have an animal and the animal ends up with two heads, it actually makes that animal's life a lot tougher. It doesn't make it stronger. Just because you have something else doesn't mean that you've evolved to be stronger, right? It doesn't mean that you'll survive easier. Matter of fact, an animal with two heads, if it's found right in the wild, usually they have this thing that they say, I don't even know if it's necessary, but they'll be like, we'll try to take this and bring it into, a zoo or something, because it's not going to survive out here in the wild the same way that it would in captivity, which means that it's not stronger. It's not as fit. It evolved something else, but it's not fit. But the reality is they don't want to talk about simple things like sex. If you got two animals that keep having sex and stuff, like they want to talk about evolution. Sex is marriage, marriage is sex. Out of sex comes fruit, right? Why is it that you have orcas that are in one tribe of orca, we can call it that, one tribe of orca, one pod of orca, whatever, one super pod even sometimes, but one pod of orca, and they speak a whole different dialect and language, right? With their sonar and stuff like that, they speak a whole different language and dialect than you do. Or I'm sorry, not than you do, but they speak a different one than the ones that are over in this part of the world and the one in this part of the world. There are multiple languages because through the fruit or whatever, they didn't evolve language. They spoke to each other, and in speaking with each other, they have something that they came in agreement on, and they speak their culture. They speak their language. They hunt their culture. Some orcas know how to be able to legit get a seal that's on an iceberg and have water rush come together and cause enough water to knock a seal off. Some cultures, they know how to be able to hunt in seaweed and stuff. Some cultures of orca, like this is something, if you're going to talk about how animals work, then talk about them holistically. Be holy, be one with your approach. Don't change it up just because you need to be right. You said we'll blow Darwin's theory out of the water because melanin is dominant and lack of is recessive. Exactly. But Darwin taught, see how evolution works? Thank you. That's a great point. Darwin taught that it was white people on top, black people on the bottom, survival of the fittest. That's what he taught. And other scientists who would be influenced by Darwinism, that's what they did all over the world. They did that. These gentlemen came together and they came up with doctrine where they broke it down even further and said that white people were on the top and black people on the bottom. That's why it's okay to enslave black folk and okay to enslave indigenous people to other places. And it's okay to say that Chinese are less than you and all that stuff. It was okay for them because they used Darwinistic principles. So when he says survival of the fittest, he doesn't want to admit that, yes, there are multiple scientists, but they're all influenced by the same cat because they don't go past Darwin. Now, if you wanted to go back, there's some things, even though we didn't really call it evolution, but there are actually some Africans that actually had a mindset of maybe we're not just, maybe we don't just have spirit animals, but maybe we actually have the ability to turn from animals into humans and stuff like that. We could actually go back past that, but that's not what he's talking about, because to go back past that, you still have to go back past what your marker is. His demarcation is what a white person said. Right. And I'm not here anti-white. I'm talking about a social construct. His idea is that a white person I had to write it in a white book. It had to be, he even started talking about college. It had to be in a white college. Now, what college he went to or she went to, I keep saying he. It feels like a he in my spirit because of the way he's come across, but it could be a masculine, type spirit, whatever. Uh, but whatever this person was trying to get across, they had to do that, right? But they had to say this white social construct, this white man's burden type construct, this the South shall rise again, lost cause rhetoric, this type of manifest destiny type of rhetoric, this prison the pipeline, which proves that we have the power over you, this Stockholm syndrome type thing that says that we should be able to use Willie Lynch syndrome to be able to get you N-words in check. That's what that was. I know it when I see it. I've seen it too many times. I've read it too many times. I've heard it too many times. I've interviewed it too many times. I've dealt with it on TikTok videos too many times. I've dealt with it on YouTube too many times. I've dealt with it in person while feeding somebody who will look at me as if I'm lesser than them, even though I'm making sure that you eat today. It's the same spirit. And once again, we have had a lack of spiritual food. Just like there is genetic food distribution or gene food distribution, there is spiritual food distribution. And we have not been fed correctly. And people are missing their spiritual magnesium. Thank you, Bounty. People are missing their spiritual iodine, right? People are missing their spiritual iron. People are missing their spiritual melanin. People have calcified melanin and are sitting up there talking about things that don't make sense. But remember, I even talked about it. Like, if you want to deal with racism, a lot of people talk about racism. Sometimes you can't even call it racism. Sometimes you got to talk about people are malnourished in the spirit and in the physical. Because if you're missing certain things out of your food, if you're missing enough potassium, if you're missing enough iron, if you're missing enough magnesium, things that you hear me mentioning some of these over and over again. If you're missing some of these items, guess what? Guess what? You're going to be what they call bipolar. Guess what? You're going to be hyper aggressive. When you get starved of things, people think just because you eat food, you're not starving. If I feed you, Starbucks coffee and Starbucks food all day, every day, you will be starving. Even if you gain weight, you will be starving. You know why? Because you're not going to get minerals and nutrients that you need. Period. You're not going to get minerals and nutrients that you need. How you doing, Dr. Knight? We're being, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Knight. We're being fed spiritual fast food. We're being fed spiritual fast food. That's it. We're being fed spiritual fast food. Now, if you need fast food every once in a while, especially if you need to survive or something like that, hey, look, do what you got to do. I wouldn't suggest it being anywhere close to being your normalcy, right? But if you're eating nothing but spiritual fast food, right, it has to be microwaved. It's got to be what you want. You get to order exactly. You get to say, I want the ketchup to be exactly this way. I want the mustard to be exactly this way. I want no mayonnaise or too much mayonnaise, or give me double mayo, or give me the fat free mayo, or I need even like if it's vegan, it still can be trash. Like, you can have Oreo cookies and that's vegan. It doesn't mean that the Oreo cookies are of any value to you. I mean, it'll give you a sugar rush. Maybe it makes your stomach feel full for a second, but your body's still starving. You see what I'm saying? But we are dealing with spiritual fast food all the time. Just give me what it is, quick, in and out. And I want to order it. See the idea of the captain, that I want to order nature. See, what is natural or natural for you is not natural or natural for me. But you declare that I must eat what you say that I should eat. And you have, in essence, thank you, genetically modified what it is that I'm eating, and told me that I should like it and I should govern myself by it. And even if it doesn't feed me, I must still take it. And exactly, yes, they did. They knew exactly what they were doing. They're saying the same thing today. I will modify your education. I will modify what your people should eat. I will modify what the Most High says. I will modify your scriptures. I will modify your Bible. I will modify your children. Your children aren't even children anymore because they're not even male or female. In the animal kingdom, tell me what child you see that they don't see if it's male or female. But your child is not even a child. I'm sorry, in the animal kingdom, what kid, what cub, what what chick, what duckling, what etc. Right? What calf, all those things. Tell me which ones come not male or female specific, because they comprehend that in the culture of that animal's kingdom, that in that culture they must have a male or female in order to survive. Yet in your culture, they are telling you that your child's not even a child because they're not even male or female. We don't comprehend how the words work and how law works, how natural law works. How do you have a natural law, but you cannot interpret male or female? We talked about this last night. Stop giving me or my people stuff that does not fix things. If your goal is to have us to have to accept things that don't help us, then stop giving us anything. We're not taking it anymore. Yes, a modified world is what they like. Yeah. Everything is modified. You're not even a citizen anymore. Not a citizen with a capital C. Then you start speaking sovereignty and they tell you that you're bad for speaking sovereignty. And will fight you because you want to be free. Right? We'll tell you that freedom costs, but then we'll tell you don't fight to be free. Where they do that at? You got to fight for freedom, but don't protect yourself. Where they do that? You're in a system where they took away, they even wanted to take away your ability to fight for yourself and your children. Thank you, Sister Barbara. They legit did that. They wanted you to take away the fight for your children. And anytime I talk about this stuff, people say, oh, you're off. It doesn't make sense. I'm like, no, just study it. And here's something about the Bible. If you really want to go into the Bible, like the Truman Show, that's a great example, right? Fictitious corporation, of course. I need you to comprehend, just like the Bible says, there's certain things that come through your works. Faith without works is dead. See, this is Afrocentric type mindset. We just don't think about it that way because we're still trying to do a Greco-romantic type thing, right? And we're in cognitive dissonance. Peep game. Certain things come through the act of. I can tell you this stuff. That's why I keep saying you got to. Certain things come through the act of. You know why I know that you should tithe, whether you do it with us or not. I'm just trying to tell you. You know why I know you should tithe? I know you should tithe because I got to where I was, being homeless on the street, always tithing. I got to where I was, to where a lot of this SOC stuff that happens is still coming out my pocket. I go right. There's a lot of stuff to where even if it's only $10, $20 here or there, every once in a while, I try to make sure, especially if people preach or do something, I try to sow a seed into somebody. There's certain people that do stuff for us behind the scenes. Let me sow a seed into you. Even tithing my time, my talent, my effort, my energy, my prayers, my gifts, right? Calling people up and giving them hours a day. And people say, why do you do it? That's the tribute. That's a tithe as a tribute. And when whatever I give, it's given unto me, right? Constitutional or Elohim's or even good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. What shall men give into your bosom? For with the same measure that you give out, it shall be given unto thee. Right? Thank you, Takwa. Appreciate it. Right? So I give it out with an expectation that whatever I give, and watch this, I don't give it to you just because. You hear what I'm saying? I don't give it to you just because. You ready for this? You ready for this? I give it to you because you're greater. Are you ready for that? Did you hear that? I give it to you because you are greater. What do I mean by that? I give it to you because you are what? Because you are greater. In other words, I'm not giving you pearls because you're a swine. When I talk to somebody, and forgive me, that's a siren I ain't heard before, but it's loud. Right? When I give you this, I'm not giving this to you because you random. I'm giving it to you. I'm not giving it to you because you swine. I'm giving it to you because you deserve it. And there's other people out there that won't give you the same pearls or won't give you the same gifts. Now, some of these pearls are lower quality. That's why we have other things we do outside of the live sessions, right? Because I need to give you some of this stuff on a level that those that really want it, we can really give you some stuff, right? But we give this to you every day because you deserve it. Now, think about this. You don't cast pearls before swine. See, you got to bring your culture. You got to bring what you're fed. Hear what I'm saying? You don't cast pearls before swine. If I'll give this to you, if I'll cast pearls before you, and I'm telling you that you're not swine, you're greater, you're more than conquerors. You hear what I'm saying? You hear what I'm saying? Okay, cool. Right about the sirens. Thank you. Right. So you hear what I'm saying about that? So if the, uh, I'm trying to get too excited. Let me calm down. If, if I will give you these pearls because I believe that you're greater and you're not swine, right? Even if you feel you're poor in spirit, the kingdom of heaven belongs to you. If I'll do that for you, question, question. I feel like I'm all over the place, but hopefully y'all are getting this. Question. If I'll give you pearls, if somebody else won't give you pearls, what do they think you are? Can I say that again? If I'm out here giving you pearls because I believe you're not swine, and somebody else won't give you pearls, what do they think you are? Salah. That's why you got to bring your own culture. If I can I say it again, if I am giving you pearls, if you believe this to be something expensive, if you believe this something to be cultural accurate, thank you, Bounty. If you believe this something that's changing your life, if you believe this something that's life altering, right? And I'm dedicating my life to giving it to you because I believe that you are greater than where you are. You are eternal, which means that yourself who you're trying to salvage in the future who you were before you got tied up in sin. If I'm giving you all that and somebody else comes and tells you that, no, we can't give you what's making you great, then what do they think you are? They think that you're swine. They think you're a pig. They think you belong in the mud. Why would you keep believing somebody that wouldn't give you these pearls? Isn't that interesting that people, the same people that are fighting against, the same type of person that comes on here and says, I'm going to take over, and I'm going to tell you how stupid you are and how evolution is the only way to go and this and that or whatever. But you didn't use evolution to make sure you freed my people. You kept them in the mud, and you got us believing that there's so much honor. Everybody's always talking about getting it out the mud. I'm tired of us getting it out the mud. When do we make sure that we go to the next level? When do we make sure we go to the next level and say we're tired of getting it out the mud? We're going to make sure that our children ain't in the mud. They will stand on our shoulders so that they never have to be in the mud. Our grandbabies will make sure that they are in their work and not have to go out and get a 9 to 5. Look, I'm not saying don't have any pride in coming out the mud. What I'm saying is, why does every generation have to come out the mud? Or why does one generation come out the mud, next generation is not in the mud, but then the generation after that right back in the mud, right? They won't give you that. In all the stuff in evolution, where was your stuff to make sure my people got free? I don't see one evolutionary source out there. I'm not saying there's not one person believes in evolution. Hear what I'm saying? I don't see one book written about evolution that says that we as a people need to be free. So you write that book, maybe I'll consider it. You be the first to write the book on how evolution says that the black man should be free, that the Israelite should be free, the true Israelite, right? You write the book that says that the Jewish person doesn't get to say that I'm Beta Israel and he's Alpha Israel, right? You write the book that says that, hey, feminism isn't something, evolution proves that the black woman should be able to be done this or this and that, or treated correctly, this and that, or whatever. You write the book on that, and then we can have a conversation. But you don't even have in your system. You want me to give up a system that gives pearls to my people. Thank you, Jesus. That gives pearls to my people, that says that we are greater. And you want me to say, nope, stop giving them those pearls. Why? Because they believe you should stay in the mud, that they believe you are that you are swine, they believe that you are something that when others eat of you, that they might be able to get in bacteria and all types of worms and stuff in your body that cause the brain to break down. That's what they believe about you. So they treat you and teach you as such. Yeah, it was designed to keep us enslaved and buried deep in the mud, right? And so here I am casting pearls. I'm casting the pearls not because I believe you're swine. It's because I believe you're greater. This government, whether you're black or white, this government has not done anything of value for you, period. Where? from this government's conception, which really goes past these dates, but people want to act like 1776, 1789, 1791 is it. Okay, well, if you're a white woman, if you've ever identified as such or still do, by that social construct, if you are a white woman, were you allowed to vote in 1776? Were you allowed to vote in 1789? Were you allowed to vote in 1791? Were you allowed to vote in 1860, 1861, 1865? The answer is no, you weren't. So why in the world are you sitting up there talking, right, going to that same government, acting like they're going to give you what you're supposed to get today? Why defend it? Yeah, they can only win by holding us back and holding us away from ourselves. I'm sorry, you said the real slaveholder is America. Very much so, right? I was actually going to talk about America today before the most I said we're going to talk about this, right? But you got to be in a position, you got to recognize the game. Games have rules, and you trying to play a game without rules. You don't like law. You don't like natural law. Their illusion is our confusion. That's a great line. But this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing inside of. Yeah, they're deconstructing us systematically. Women, children, men killed daily, but not by us. Right. And is it not interesting that the only thing that they'll talk about is, well, 90% of Black homicides, they come from other Black people. Right, but they don't talk about that with white neighborhood Spanish people, this and that. But then once again, it's a way of taking the focus off. Okay, fine. Let's make it higher. Let's say 98% of Black homicides are this and that or whatever. And so what they're I need you to comprehend how they're trying to keep you in the mud, right? I see you, Sister Shante. I need you to see how they're holding you in the mud, right? I need you to see how they're holding you in the mud, right? Why do they even say that to you? Right, are they based on that? Why are they even saying that to you? Let's say it's 98%. Why would they even say that to you? Why do they even care? Why does that even matter? Honest question. I want you to think about it once again, because they think you're swine. They think you're a pig. They think you're a fool. They think you're slow. They think you're stupid. They think you're dumb. But why would they even say that to you? Well, more Black people kill Black people than other people. They're saying that because they're saying, look, before you try to get us to help, this is what they're saying, because they think that you're going to keep looking to them. So they're saying, before you try to get us to help, because that's what we do. Hey, can you please, Mr. Slave Master, please, Mr. Slave Patrolman, please, Mr. Person that said that I wasn't even a human being, please, person that took my land, please, person that took my people, I need you to stop killing us. And so that same person, the kidnapper with the kidnapper mentality, turns around and says, why would I stop killing you if you don't stop killing yourself? What does one have to do with the other? Do you hear what I'm saying? What does one have to do with the other? But it's the kidnapper mentality. The one who was killing you while he kidnapped some of you, he killed some of you, the one that raped your women, the one that raped your babies. Christopher Columbus, and then we're messing around with little girls. We talk about what he did to the teenage girls and the women. He was messing around with the little girls so much that were like 8-year-olds, 6-year-olds sometimes. Disgusting. They were messing around with them so much that they could not even have children anymore. Some of them died because they were so violently messed with. Our babies, your babies, because they're our children too. I know we want to separate them like there's some other people. They're us too, right? Thank you, Bounty. And they went and they started shooting them in the head, and they said, you know what? We'll stop shooting them. Let's start hitting them with hammers. Why? Because hammers are less expensive, because if we keep using bullets, we'll lose bullets. It's more cost effective to just hit them. So they started hitting them in the head with hammers to kill them. I need you to comprehend, this is a spirit. It's spiritual warfare. How do we fight against spiritual warfare? You got to bring back something. You got to make sure that you honor something that was always yours. But how do you honor something that's always yours if you're always told that what you honor is not honorable? A time is done for us to respect somebody that doesn't respect us. Now, I'm not saying, see, watch this. That means the only way, or put it this way, the only way I can respect you properly, like I said before, is I have to make sure that you're not on my property. Because if you think it's okay to kill my child, and it's okay to defend killing my child, then you must comprehend that if I allow you in my home, we're going to fight. Thank you, Bounty. If I allow you in my home, we're going to fight. So I need to make sure that you don't come in my home. I need to make sure that you're not allowed in my community. If you can talk like a human being, if you can mention your wrongs, and I can mention my wrongs too, I have no problem. I'm not 100% right, but I do know that I'm 100%. I have 100% right to defend my family by any means necessary. By any means, XXX, I see you, right? By any means, right? I have to tell my people, and I have to cast pearls because you think they're swine. You won't tell them the pearl that George Washington isn't the first president, and that there was a president before him. There were 8 presidents before him, and one of them was black, right? You won't tell them the truth. That on the back of that dollar bill or whatever it is, right, that you'll see a black man hanging at the White House, right? You won't tell them the truth. That, like, you won't tell them the gems. You won't tell them that they're supposed to be freedmen, and that you won't allow them to be freedmen. You want them to be citizens because you put the whole 14th Amendment in place because they were freedmen. They were becoming free. Our people were free. And when we were born freedmen. We were not Americans, right? Even though we were the original Americans too, but we didn't have to be this modern American. We could just be freedmen. And so you created a new law that said that if we were born on your property, that we had to be one of you. And so even as we tried to go further west and stuff and get away from y'all and still be able to be born free, you kept on taking more and more stuff up so that there came a point to where nobody could be born on your land and not be called an American. Right? These are things that are there. You're not telling them those gems. You're not telling them the gem that Malcolm X tried to come together with Martin Luther King Jr. the very week that he was killed. And he was killed by CIA officials who rented the room above him and had holes facing down. And so they gave the people who were black Muslims that they worked with, they gave them blanks instead of other people, meaning that you were in on the whole thing. You won't tell them, even though you had to admit some of it lately, but that the CIA, you can look this up on YouTube, matter of fact, that the CIA actually had an interview with Malcolm X saying, hey, give us all the information on the black Muslims. Malcolm, who knew that the black Muslims were trying to kill him, still wouldn't give it over and ended up dying to save his own people who were trying to kill him. I'm trying to tell you that they won't give you these gems of who you are. They don't want you to bring back who you are. That's the trick of the enemy. It's not just to get you to not even have faith in yourself. It's to get you to believe that the devil ain't really real. It's to get you to believe that the people that are on top really ain't the people that you need to worry about. It's to get you to not understand. Do you comprehend the gems, sisters? Homework assignment. Look up Queen Ty, right? You know about King Tut. And King Tut was a child king that didn't even last that long. No offense, right? But he didn't last that long. I want you to look up his grandmama, Queen Ty, or his mama, Queen Ty. See what you can find out about her. That's you. See what you can find out about Queen Nzinga. I'm talking about the righteous and the unrighteous. Be real about all of it, but learn about these people. I mentioned these people's names over and over again for a reason, right? Look up, I don't know why I'm having Dorothy Heights. Dorothy Heights, school named after her in a couple different places, but in Washington, D.C., my children went to that school or whatever, Northwest D.C. Learn about Dorothy Heights. See what you get. That's your culture. That's a gem. Why don't they teach you about her? They teach you about Susan B. Anthony. They're going to celebrate Susan B. Anthony and her born day and all this. And Susan B. Anthony said that she would rather give her right arm than to see a black beast vote before her. Right? Why you know more about Susan B. Anthony than you know about Dorothy Heights? Right? Forgive me, I'm messing up on old girl's name. Who is the sister that well, there's 2 sisters actually. I'm blanking out on both their names right now. Forgive me, sisters. The one sister that ended up making all that money off of making hair care products in the 1800s, and then simultaneously you had the little girl who actually owned the oil well and became like an oil, tycoon. 2 black women. 2 black women. Those are pearls. Why don't you learn about them? Why don't you know about Frances Cress Wilson? Madam C.J. Walker is the one with the hair. Thank you. And I forget the name of the other person. Right? Even Memorial Day. Right? Yeah, Decoration Day, Memorial Day. Great point. Memorial Day is something that was for us. Oh, Madame Toussaint. Okay, thank you. Right, like that was for us. That was our day. Or look up a sister, by the way, even in in Haiti, the sister that was with Duddy Bookman, um, the night that they made their blood oath or whatever, and they decided they were going to attack. Right, there was a sister in there, a prophetess. They'd call her now they call her a voodoo priestess or whatever. And she was in the voodoo. I'm not gonna act like she wasn't, right? But I'm just saying, like, this is you. We have been told that brothers are male chauvinists. You got to put male before it because chauvinism actually just means patriotism. But we've been told that we're male chauvinists and misogynists, right? But we ain't the ones making your curriculum. Ashanti warrior queens. Matter of fact, look at where the Amazons came from. When the Italians tried to fight during World War II, and they got the brakes beat off them by these sisters, all sister army, right? The original Amazons. Look up, matter of fact, the person that they want you to hate, Gaddafi, right? They had a black man telling you why it was okay to kill off Gaddafi, another black man who was trying to make sure that his people had their own currency. I'm not saying he was perfect, but let's be real. He was trying to make sure we had our own currency. He was making sure that we based that currency off of stuff that was actually in Africa, so we didn't have to ask somebody else for it. He was somebody that made sure that when you got married, that you got a stipend and you had a place to stay for free for a year. All these different things that he had, he made a point to where there was no alcohol, right? So you didn't have to worry about alcoholic problems and things like that. And also because they're supposed to be Muslim, right? So he was in line with what his people wanted. And then all of a sudden they told you, and it was the young people, and usually young people that give you Marxist manifesto, and then they send the CIA and FBI and everybody else in there the same way they send that's just a modern version of your what is the religious term I'm using? Because I don't really like talking about them. Not the evangelists, but the who do you send in first to make sure that you take over? Not the evangelists, but they're supposed to be evangelists, but they really send in gosh, I'm forgetting the name. It'll come to me. But Gaddafi, they kill him off and everything. Had you saying that was whatever Gaddafi, thank you, missionaries. You send in the missionaries, right? Gaddafi was actually somebody who had an all-woman army. His personal bodyguard was all woman because he felt he could trust them more. But we're misogynist. No, we're not. This culture has taught your men how to be misogynist. And if you want them to stop being misogynist, take them out of this culture and give them back their own. Your plate runneth over. Amen. Is that our role models of critical race theories? How you doing, brother TJ? Now I said what we are not taught as men is how powerful and influential women are to battle. I mean, well, that as well. Also, too, go back to Haiti. If you want to go back to Haiti, I think it's like 40% of the people that fought were women. So when you talk about people that were hung and all that stuff, it was women. Matter of fact, there's a famous story of a woman who's getting ready to hang with her husband. Her husband breaks down in tears and starts crying. And she turns to him and she says, basically, like, straighten up. And she says, do you not know how much an honor it is for you to die for your people and your country? Like this is our women, our men and women. We go together. Think about how many women have helped many men to be able to be healed on the battlefield. Right, Black Panther showed us, but even in that's a mixed match of culture. I'm glad they tried to fit as much stuff in there, but they also fit some extra stuff in there that really ain't us. But I'm glad that some children had something for their generation, but they give that to us. You kind of on every generation. You had Shaka Zulu movies, right? Some of y'all never watched the old stuff, but they put a bunch of stuff in that to make Shaka and them look bad, ultimately. But there's a little bit of stuff in there that kind of helps people to look good and have value. You had Roots, the Roots movies. They put that stuff in there. They gave you that. You had even with superhero stuff. You had Blade. You had what's the one? They'll give you a few here and there, but they're not really going going to, they'll do that to make money off us, but then they're gonna go right back to giving us the same stuff. What's the other one I'm thinking of? You had The Last Dragon, right? Leroy, who's the master? All this stuff. This is number 21, but we have the names on the playlist. We have the names of each one. So this is number 21, part 21, right? But we're not aware of these things. We somebody took us and took these things away, and so we get a little bit of it. We get a flash, and we think, like, even think about this. How many of us were so excited to bless Disney? That's what we did. We blessed Disney. How many of us were so excited to give a tribute to Disney because they gave you 2 to 3 hours of some of yourself, right? Why was that such a blessing? They still made sure that they had the white hero, and even the black villain had to be under the white villain for a little bit, and the black hero wouldn't have been able to make it without the white hero's help. And the white person was telling him how he needs to make sure he gets his stuff together and stay out of it, and you're really monstrous and da 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 this and that or whatever. You still had to have the white savior complex in there, right? But well, think about, we made sure that Disney was what? How much money did they make? Something like in the first month or first whatever it was, they made $2 billion. $2 billion off of that. I mean, it's great to see us on the silver screen, but I mean, for real now, I know, like, we won't even sacrifice. Check this out. How many times has there been tons of people? We only focus on Master P, but there's tons of black artists who've come out and said, hey, support us. And we go, oh, well, it doesn't look as good as white people's stuff is, or whatever. First of all, why are you looking at a white person's prism and saying it has to look like that? Number one. Secondly, why would you not donate to your cause so that eventually you'll be able to do what they did? Remember, they were dusty at one point too. Right? Why is it that you won't see yourself unless you're on the Hollywood screen, right? But you can't come and support when you got plenty of brothers and sisters trying to do it on this level and make sure, right? And by the way, you did do it some, but you had to watch yourself act the fool because you did it with Tyler Perry. You did it on the Chitlin circuit. Tyler Perry ain't the only one that was on the Chitlin circuit. Chuck Berry started a whole bunch of stuff in rock and roll. Well, let's not act like Chuck Berry wasn't out there singing My Ding-a-Ling. And before that, there were women singing in the 1930s and the 1920s. Right? And the same Marvin Gaye, that said, what's going on, is the same one that said, when I get that feeling, I want sexual healing. Now, I ain't mad at talking about sex, but let's not act like all this stuff was clean. Just because they were smart enough to clean it up so they can put it on the radio doesn't mean that it wasn't there, right? You're dealing with people that will give you a piece of yourself, but will always have to give you something, even in Black Panther. Right? Even in Black Panther, you guys remember in Black Panther, all the stuff that's going on? You guys remember in Black Panther that the whole thing was to get you to have two competing things, and you decide who's right or wrong. Right? You decide who's right or wrong. Is the person who says that black people should be fought for, are they right? Of course not. They're the villain. Is the person that says that black people should make sure that they go to themselves or whatever, well, he's not really right either, because you shouldn't hide to yourself, and make sure that you have yourself done, and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and make sure you have your own culture, and make sure that you present things to the world to where they don't need to know what's going on in your own walls. So he's wrong for that, and he's wrong for that. So who is the victor? Now you got to get into, or not a victor, excuse me. We don't want to be victor. Who is the person who's actually correct? Neither one is correct. Yeah, and we stopped. You're right. We stopped supporting Apple Bottom, FUBU. Matter of fact, we looked at them as bad. We looked at them as bad. Now, eventually, I think FUBU wasn't really under us anymore at a certain point, but we look at it as bad. Sean John. And by the way, even when we look at Sean John, what is he doing to uplift your community? How you doing, Sister Tracy? We just like him because he's rich. He's not holding it. He's out there doing all types of wild parties and twink type parties and stuff. And even when he uses Sean John, when he uses the term, or Sean Combs, excuse me, when he uses the term, we got a party together, he's talking about you got to do sexual favors for him. And we got away from all that. And I need you to comprehend there's a spirit attached. Carl Kanai, right? Matter of fact, Eminem puts a little thing in there about Karkanai in one of his songs. Not on his first album, but I guess the first album everybody knows him for. I can't remember the lyrics. Actually, it was the one nowadays everybody want to talk because they got something to say because nothing comes out because they move their lips. It's just a bunch of gibberish and mother act like they forgot about Dre. One day I was walking by in the parking lot when a guy gave me the awkward eye in the parking lot. It was Karkanai, something like that. People throw in stuff, right? And we don't know enough about what's going on, so we just like, oh, that's cool. But they're deadening us. They're deadening us, right? They're telling us like stuff like Eminem. Watch this. Eminem lost mad respect for me. I was already on the fence about Eminem, but I was like, okay, I guess he kind of just is doing the trailer park thing. He's great at rhyming words together, even though he don't really have much to say. He really doesn't say anything. It's like when you listen to Busta Rhymes, a lot of people gonna hate me because I say this. Busta got a lot of energy. I like to rock Busta if I'm just trying to party or something. But real talk, if you listen to Busta's lyrics are about I'm better than you. Here's my sexual energy, and that's kind of it, right? He really ain't saying nothing, but he can say it real fast, so he can say it very energetic, right? Like I'll be the first person when he say, when it come on, get low, bus. Like I love that, right? And then he bring up the energy, right? Like it'll get high, but he's not saying anything. If anything, he's saying something that's detrimental. He ain't telling you nothing, right? But Eminem, he'll say something like, remember, and we think it's okay because we just go, oh yeah, there's hip hop battles and this and that or whatever, right? So we think it's okay that he comes out and makes fun of black artists and that he kills black artists off, and we like, yeah, you don't want to mess with that white boy, man. That white boy, he bad. He's the number one artist. When did he become the number one artist? You would never look. I know Chuck Berry is like that, I know that he's the man. I know he started stuff, but you ain't gonna hear nobody in white society go any further than Elvis. Now we know Elvis got all his stuff legit. We know the people he hired, right? There's stuff on YouTube where we actually can listen to the people and see them perform. And these are the people that were actually, like, we call them ghostwriters and stuff today. Not only wrote the music, but even would sing the songs, send it to Elvis. And because they were making enough money off it, they didn't want to mess up what they thought was a good thing. And then later on in life, tried to come out with albums. Nobody wanted to buy their albums because they were like, well, you sound like Elvis. But the reality is now Elvis sounds like them. Too late, though. We've already been introduced to it. You said not Busta. I'm just saying. I know some people don't like me saying that. But like, get Busta's lyrics and just read Busta's lyrics. And you tell me if he's saying anything. And by the way, when Busta raps fast, I promise you he's going to say some of the same stuff. Give him give him this, and I gotta get him this, and I gotta get him more, I gotta get it. Like he does that on all the fast ones. I'm just saying, right? I still think that he's one of the best to ever do it. I'm just saying, lyrically, I'm not. If Busta Rhymes, if I go to a Busta Rhymes show, I'm gonna just say it like this: I ain't looking for what KRS-One is gonna give me. I ain't looking for what J. Cole is gonna give me. I'm not looking for what even Tribe Called Quest might give me. I'm not looking for, what I'm saying? I'm not going to a Busta show looking for that. I'm not, even though he ain't always deep, but hey, even what a Jay-Z might give me, at least lyrically and stuff. I'm not looking for that what a Tupac would give me. I'm not looking for that. I'm not mad at it. I'm just saying if I go to a Busta Rhymes show, I'm going to be turning my mind off a little bit because I know what I'm going to be listening to is stuff that I shouldn't really be listening to. So I probably wouldn't go to a Busta show in all honesty. But I'm just saying if I ever did, I'm probably not about to, do whatever, right? I'm not looking at that. I'm not looking for him to be Kendrick. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for him to get hype. I'm just saying. So if a Busta, like if you ask me a lot of Busta lyrics and stuff like that, I can't really remember because he ain't really said much. Like even depending on what you listen to, a lot of Twista stuff, the stuff that he's more popular for, I'm not really, trying to listen to it too much. But I actually like Twista, even though I love Twista and stuff, but I'm saying like I'm not looking for him to give me a message that's dynamic or anything, but he has some stuff that's pretty cool. Even like if you look at what is it? What's this? The old Puffy album, No Way Out, the one with Genuine. Mama told me one day it was gonna happen. but she never told me when. If you listen to Twister's verse on there, like that's amazing. Like that's one of the greatest verses, even though, in my opinion, that's one of the greatest verses I've ever heard. Right? Like as far as lyrically, storytelling, the flow, speed, the beat, if you want to add that to it. I know that's not necessarily his thing, but hey, it's something he's on. But I'm just saying, right? Like there's a lot of things that we don't do. Wu Tang, there's some stuff on there that I like. Wu is not, I think we kind of overvalue some of the stuff of Wu, but Wu was saying some stuff that nobody else was. So I give credit where credit's due. I think some of the most popular people out of Wu probably were not the deepest people in Wu, for sure. But I'm not saying they're not talented and not gifted. I'm just saying, as far as if I go to listen to certain people, I ain't necessarily looking for certain things from them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not necessarily going to look for certain. There's another guy. Well, you can put Twalib Kweli in there. I'm not a big fan of his, but he talks stuff. Most Def. Who's the person I just forgot? Immortal Technique. If you know about somebody now, he can be extremely like deep, as far as like he can go to extreme levels of stuff. And those who are on the podcast, we probably only got about 2 minutes before it's going to cut us off. So thank you for being on. If you want to join us on YouTube or TikTok, feel free to come on over. Thank you for being on today. We appreciate you all. But Immortal Technique, that's a brother right there. If you want to hear some stuff, not mainstream at all, but you want to hear some stuff that's going to force you to think, and it's going to mess with you, and it's going to talk about our people, and he's actually an activist, or even, shoot, let's give credit where credit's due. These are people that basically just were bringing your culture to you, or talking about things as actual human beings. Black Thought, especially his freestyles more than stuff, but he has a lot of poetry that's really nice too. I'm seeing the names of the songs, but I'm not remembering the name of the group. I listen to them from time to time to kind of remember the system and what we're fighting against. Somebody help me out. Bulls on Parade. I don't know the names of the songs. F you, I'm gonna do what you told me. I see the guy who was the lead singer. I see the guy who's guitar player. I see the drummer. I see the bass player. Who sung Bulls on Parade? Why am I forgetting the name of this group? Arrested Development. Oh, Arrested Development all day. Fireside, yeah. What is the name of the group? Can't Do Blah 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 and You Chosen White. I even see one of the albums. I don't know why I'm Rage Against the Machine. Thank you. Right, even Rage Against the Machine. I'll pull them out in a minute. And so the list obviously goes on and on and on. And I don't know every single group. I'm not gonna act like I do. I'm not gonna act like I keep up with music the way that I used to. I'm a musician, so I used to do nothing but study music. But I'm just saying, like Public Enemy, of course. The list goes on and on. I'm just saying, like, these are people that basically been trying to tell you the whole time what the game was. That's why, even though she don't do it no more, and even though she's not really sexually where our culture is or whatever, like Queen Latifah still gets mad respect because she was giving you culture. Like a lot of people don't even know, UNITY, she actually produced a song before that said, I need a ride or die B word. And she produced that song, right? Because she was trying to give two parts to the thing. So she actually produced the song and helped that to come out so that you hear brothers being like, I need somebody that's ride or die. But he was still at the same time saying why he needed ride or die. He had cognitive dissonance. He was calling her the B word. So she come out with UNITY, right? I'm not a B, you are, right? Like that was a consistency. We don't even know. Like there was consistency in the music. We don't even know. Queen Latifah and Tribe Called Quest and a lot of other people, they were together in a super group and had albums out, right? Where you had these huge long lists. Like if you know about Quincy Jones type stuff or whatever, when Quincy Jones comes out with an album and all these people on the album, they were doing that with each other in hip hop. And they were bringing culture. They were bringing you mindset. They were bringing you things that was our culture, that was valid to us. That's why at one point, even though I still would never say fully hip hop culture was all the way us, but that was why at one point hip hop culture used to look like you. Hip hop culture, it didn't matter. Like in singing, and by the way, it goes back past hip hop, even to the Temptations and people before them, right? Even Ray Charles, etc. If you were a drug addict, You weren't a drug addict in person, right? Nobody knew if you had a drug problem that you was that you had a drug problem. Nobody knew that. Nobody was worried about that because you weren't supposed to present that. Your children could be watching that. The OGs, if they saw, like, you know why Run DMC never made an album and talked about drugs? Because they started to, and they started talking about that stuff, and the OGs came out and got them and said, "Yo, y'all about to blow up. You can't be out here doing it." And the OGs, some of them were drug dealers, but even the drug dealers had honor, right? Even the drug dealers had honor, you know. Even the drug dealers were like, "Yo, we can't be just out here letting these babies do this and that or whatever." Some of them didn't, but a lot of them actually had honor. Yo, we can't be out here having these babies hooked on drugs. You can't tell them this is okay. Nowadays, shoot, you supposed to glorify lean, right? You're supposed to glorify taking a little hit of your own supply. And even Biggie and the 10 crack commandments told you never get high off your own supply. How you doing, Tadashi? Like even Biggie said that, right? Like there was honor. There to be some honor. You could be the most jacked up individual. Look, in other cultures too, you could be part of the Italian mafia. You could be mafioso. But there's certain things you didn't do in front of an old lady that was coming across the street. I remember growing up, you might be out there, you might be smoking a cigarette or even smoking weed or doing whatever, right? But because of society we lived in, you said you ain't supposed to smoke weed. So guess what? You smoking weed, old lady come up, guess what you do? You put the weed out. I don't care how much effort it took for you to whatever. You can relight the weed later. Or you go around the corner because you don't want her to even have it in her presence. You gave her respect. Right? You gave her respect. You know, and I know the list goes on and on. We can keep on talking about all the different people that were there, but even Easy E talked about it. Erica Badu has some great stuff on there. I'm just trying to say, like you gotta see that somebody has done something where once again they saw you were getting too culturally out there, and so they started to control you, and so now you are under full control. They were always in control. Recognize that they put out the NWAs, which talks about some real stuff, but let's be honest, there's some stuff on there that wasn't necessarily the best for us to be able to hear either. But they were the ones that put that out there. They were the ones that put out Scarface. They were the ones that put out Snoop and Dre, right? And I know I'm just doing West Side right now. West Side Connection eventually comes with stuff too. At West Side Connection, a lot of people don't know that they were connected to groups like Korn. If you look up the group Korn, Korn, and look at what they're talking about. And I'm be honest with you, I was a Korn fan because I was a music fan. I was a music head. Anything that was great musically or anything that did something or anything that was a new sound to me, I studied it. So they were in the Korn, and you even have people like Method Man that gets with Limp Bizkit. Check out what Limp Bizkit's about. He didn't want to do something. He ends up doing 2 albums because he was told he will do those 2 albums. He was on contract. But you got to see who's in control of this stuff. Right? If you want to go over to the East Coast, we think about Puffy being the one that's leading everything. Puffy still had masters he had to answer to. He still does. We think just because Puffy's worth a certain amount, I guess he's a billionaire. I don't know. But we think that just because Puffy's worth a certain amount of money, and we go, man, he came from Howard and blah, blah, and all that. Don't think that Puffy is like you. Right? But I'm trying to tell you that that's the game. Once again, that they want you as the kidnappee to be submissive to the kidnapper. And therefore, when the kidnapper takes your people, takes your mentality, and then says, you will rap about drugs. I know this is somebody who's a musician. I've been in places to where they'll have a producer. Producer doesn't know anything about music, y'all. Not all of them, but I'm saying you'll have people that are producers, know absolutely nothing about music. For real, don't know a thing about music. All right? Don't know anything about what? Don't know a thing about music, but will come in and we'll be playing. And they'll say, ooh, you know what? This song needs to be more, this song is kind of blue. It needs to be more orange. And we look at them like, what the, what I'm saying? Like, what did he just say? And we'd be like, this song is a little too blue. I need to be more orange. And we look at each other like, what does that mean? Back in the day, I would have added another word in between what in, between what the and does that mean? I would have put another word in there. But we're looking at each other like, what does that mean? He needs it to be more orange. So we'll go and play the same song and then do it the same exact way. And he'll be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. He don't know what he's talking about. That same person also doesn't know your culture, but knows that in his mind, your culture means what? That you kill people. So I've also sat down and I've seen it with my own eyes where somebody be trying to put out an album or something. And they'll say to the person, hey, you need to make a song for the bees, for the BITC, you know what? You need to make a song for the bees. And you like, the bees? They're like, what you mean? Like, that's not even on the album. They're like, yeah, man, if you can't put this out, like making a song for the bees, it's hot. They don't even know what that means. But guess what? They make a song for the bees because that's what some person that doesn't know about your culture said he's supposed to do. I'm trying to tell you, like, these are, oh, yeah, I used to listen to the Beastie Boys. Cyndi Lauper, I just know the one song. I don't really know a lot of other stuff about her. ZZ Top, I actually use. I really only know. Well, I've listened to ZZ Top, but I really only care about the one that got us got him famous. Um, but a lot of that stuff, right? And the ZZ Top one, that I know about is the one that they did when they were an older group. But I know about this stuff before, but we don't know a lot of it, a lot of that stuff, right? We don't know about the culture, and we look down upon it. We don't want to know about the culture because we look down upon it. You've been taught that your culture is something that's bad, but we don't recognize that. We don't recognize, like, Eminem. We once again we say it's okay for Eminem to come and destroy and mess up black people and talk about stuff. Eminem actually said straight up in a song, right? He was interviewed about it and skated around it. There's a black person interviewing him, but because he's supposed to just say Eminem's number one, he just goes with the program. But real talk, Eminem came out and had a song and said to somebody, like, because it was I think Lord Jamar on a white show, actually. What's that show on YouTube? Russian guy does it, Vlad TV, and he goes on his show. And Lord Jamar basically says, like, I don't really think of Eminem like that or whatever. And I feel like Eminem does too much and he needs to, like, leave our culture and stuff alone and doing this. And he, if you come in my house, you got to do what I asked you to do in my house. And I don't think we really invited you in your house, but we this and that or whatever. So Eminem comes out with a song and legit says, I don't care about your house. I'll come in your house and stomp on and do this or whatever. And he was asked by the black guy about it. And he was like, well, I ain't mean it like this, blah, blah. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You showed that you disrespect my culture, but you have no problem making sure that you make money off of it. But it's on us. We are the people who see the kidnappers still doing this to our men and to our women. We forget that. See, it's stuff they make disappear. Eminem has a song out there where he made fun of a black girlfriend and talked about how he hated her and this and that or whatever. Now, real talk, he did that with his wife / girlfriend or whatever she was, Kim, and his own mother. So I mean, it could be equal opportunity, so to speak. But but he did it to a black woman and stuff. Ain't nobody talking about that. But what's interesting when I hear somebody talk about KRS One, who talked about something very offensive about women and stuff, but he's grown from that, but he talked about something very offensive and things. Even though if you listen to the lyrics, it sounds more like KRS One is actually trying to talk about something that's bad and how we shouldn't do it. But nevertheless, people say, see, KRS One, he said this, blah, blah, whatever. And they're trying to say he actually did it and he committed some crime, which they can't prove. But here's Eminem talking bad stuff about your woman and nobody got anything to say. But whose fault is that? It's ours. Whose problem is that? See, I look, real talk. I don't fault other people. I can't fault people for not seeing greatness in me because you can't always see what I see. And this is where the rubber meets the road. At the end of the day, I'm putting these things out, but we always have to talk about self-accountability and bringing our culture up. As we get ready to take our leave, look, I can't blame others for, I can't blame others for not knowing anything. I can't blame others for not wanting to, do what they're supposed to do. I can't blame others for not seeing greatness in me because they're not me. My father, It might be tough for my father to see in me what I see in me. It might be tough. So there's things that I talk to about my father that he don't see. It doesn't mean that I love my father any less or anything. It just means there's stuff in me that he cannot see. And that's okay. It really is. That's okay. I don't need him to see everything that I see. I don't need him to agree with everything that I see. I don't need him to believe in everything that I see or that I talk about. It's okay. Right? I don't need everybody in my community to agree with every word that I say. I don't need every book to agree with every word that I say. So even people when like the person who came on earlier, well, you don't know about this, you don't know about that. You need to go back to college, this, that, or whatever. I mean, that's fine. Like I'm okay with not having to, with us not having to agree. I really am. Like I'm totally fine with us not having to be in agreement. We don't have to be in agreement. I'm 100% okay with us not having to be in agreement. Like I'm serious, because you don't necessarily have you won't necessarily see what I see, and I recognize that, and I realize that, and I'm okay with that, and I'm mindful of that, and I'm appreciative of the Most High showing me that it's okay that we don't have to agree on every little thing. I'm totally okay with that. Right. So while I tell you that I'm okay with it, then I now I have to live that I'm okay with it, and it's not somebody else's responsibility to give me everything that I need. Right. My father did the best that he could, and he gave me everything he could. And he's one of the greatest men. If, as a matter of fact, let me tell it the way it is. He is the greatest man that I know. My father is the greatest man that I know, and that's not going to change. He's the greatest man that I know personally, and I love him. I appreciate him, but he can't do everything for me, and it's not his job anymore. He did everything he could for me. At some point, I got to say, okay, now I got it, Dad. I got it from here. Right? I got it from here. You ain't got to worry about certain things anymore. You don't have to worry about providing for me. You don't have to worry about making sure that my bills are paid. You don't have to worry about protecting me for everything. There's certain things, matter of fact, that I'm going to do for you now. Right? And it's this, and if I had that mindset about my father, then I realized I must have that mindset about my kidnapper. Especially my kidnapper didn't feed me when I was hungry. They fed me enough if I was a slave to make sure that I could be a slave, but I still had to eat, pig guts and stuff like that. They didn't teach me anything about who I was. They didn't make sure that they tried to give me the opportunity to be able to go to a college. They didn't make sure that they worked 2.5 jobs to make sure that I was taken care of while my mom, who was passing away slowly, was taken care of. They didn't do that. So if I can make sure that I recognize that even with my father, who always means well, may not be somebody who, or not even may not, is not somebody who I need to be looking for to say, hey, they're going to, this person can do everything for me. If I know that to be a fact, that this person cannot do everything for me, and at some point I have to take on things for myself, then why would I not do that with my kidnapper? You see what I'm saying? Like your kidnapper is sitting up here. They said that you weren't, they lied to you, said you were nothing before you got there. Then they took every proof that you were connected to something greater than them and taught them. And then they told you that you ain't nothing while they were over you. And now they're trying to tell you you'll never be anything without them. Right? Republicans say, man, just be who you're supposed to be underneath us and be happy with it. And right, Democrats say, hey, just you should be able to be happy and stuff, but let us teach you what it is to be happy. Let us teach you what your culture is. Both sides ain't doing nothing for us. At some point, we got to cut that off. If somebody truly loves you, it'll show up. Oh, yeah. Well, love is action. So I don't have to give the same action to my children I give to my wife. I don't have to give the same action to people in the community that I do to my family. I don't have to give the same action to people, even though I still try to show love to my community. Right. But yeah, So you can love your enemy. You can forgive your enemy. You don't have to forget what your enemy did. And you don't have to move on by saying that I will never think about how to make sure my people are protected from this point on. And if we can, right? And if we can do that with our own parents, we should be able to do it with our kidnapper. And there's certain things that just need to be cut off. Nicolaitan doctrine, we cut it off. Balaam doctrine, we cut it off. That's why I said last night, if you don't have anything that helps to fix it, please keep that over there. Keep it away from my community, because if you're going to bring it over here, then we got to fight you. Then we got to speak against it. Then we got to pray against it, right? And I'm talking about all levels: fighting, praying, seeking counsel, culture, denying other cultures that aren't going to help us. Yeah, I'm into all that. And if you say that that makes me evil, if you'll call me evil for saying that I will protect mine, but you won't protect mine, I'll go ahead and be evil, if that's what you need to label it. Like, real talk. If you'll tell me I'm evil because I will give my community pearls, but you won't give them pearls because you think they're swine, then call me evil. Right? If you'll say that I'm evil because I would dare talk about a word and use it to uplift my people, and not say that other people are bad, but to say that, yeah, it's okay to seal ourselves and be great. But you would say that I'm reverse racist because I would dare say that the same thing that you did to get power, not the same exact thing, by the way, because I'm not saying we need to have chattel slaves. I'm not saying that we should never contact a white person. I'm not saying that we should automatically say somebody's evil because they have a different belief system. I'm not saying that we should say you're automatically evil because you are white. We don't teach any of that. But because I would dare say that you should love yourself the way that you look, the way that you stand, and you should, and the best way to be the greatest human is to first love yourself as a great human, so that you can love all other humans. How do you love all humans and you can't love yourself? How do you love all tribes if you can't love your tribe? I'm trying to take my lead, y'all, but I just want y'all to get this, right? Like, this is why you got to bring your stuff in there. You got to make sure that spiritual food distribution is there. How do I love myself? Right? How do I love my wife and I don't love myself? Because to love my wife is to love myself. How do you love Yahweh, who you've never seen? This is what the Bible says in John chapter 4, right towards the end. How do you say that you love Yahweh, who you've never seen, and hate your brother, who you see every day? Thank you, Henry. Right? How do you do that? How do you love 50 states, which each state is a country? How do you love 50 countries, but you have no pride in your own nation? How do you show love to children? Right? How do you send money to feed the children, but you don't? But you got Israel right here, and some of these babies ain't eating. How do you do it? How do you do it? That's just honesty. How do you do it? Somebody help me. How do you do that? It doesn't make sense. Matter of fact, if you want to go into the whole black-white dynamic, for real, if we really want to go there to the black-white dynamic, white people, right, should make sure that you love yourself, because you can't love them until you love yourself. If they really want you to be an American, they need you to be Negro, Black, copper-colored, Moors, non-citizen nationals, freedmen, etc. They need you to be all these things first, because how can you love America if you don't love yourself? If you're a white person, how can you be a white person that loves other white people and Black people and Americans if you don't love being Irish, or you don't love being Italian, or you don't love being English? You've got to learn how to love your culture and love yourself. And even if there's things in your culture that you don't like, then fine, take time to deal with those things. But how do you tell me, as a Democrat, that you're going to help to fix the plight of my people, but you haven't even dealt with your Eurocentric values. You won't get rid of the prison. Everybody celebrated when Obama said we're going to get rid of private prisons. Problem with that is, though, is that once you got rid of private prisons, then you I'm sorry, not government prisons. He flipped it. He said we're going to get rid of the American government owning prisons. Everybody clapped, not realizing that meant that you were putting all prisons, making them private. So now there's more money in it for the private sector, which means it's going to be more of a problem. Right? How do you deal with that if you won't be honest about that? You cannot. This is why we have to have our own system, our own land, and we're working tirelessly. And the goal is still October. And even if it takes a few more months, I hope it happens in October, right? I'm trying to figure out a way to make more finances even on my own and see if we can pull this thing together. We got people that have done some research and things. We're trying to make sure we type out some things and get you guys connected to the stuff or whatever, so you can see it all as we're typing and adding on to it, and you can be able to see real time stuff being added on, what's going on, right? But I'm trying to tell you that in all the stuff that's going on, all right, I'm trying to tell you, in all these things and all these items that are going on, like, you have to learn to love yourself. It's got to be about you. It's got to be about you. Hey, babe, how you doing? Thanks for being on. Oh, thank you, Naya. Appreciate that, right? It's got to be about you. You first. The Most High has given you dominion. Why won't you use it? Why is it that everybody else gets to have dominion and use dominion and be diminutive, but you don't get to do it? Why does it work that way? Everybody else gets to have dominion except you. Everybody gets to use dominion except you. Until you can love yourself, you cannot love somebody else. Until you love your Bible, you can't use your Bible to bless other people. I'm sorry. Like, that's the way it goes. Until you love the Most High, right? You cannot use the Most High in your situations correctly. You can use certain principles that are universal no matter what, but you got to be there, right? Until you do those things correctly, until you put these things in place, you can't utilize them the way that you might think. This is why we have to have this cultural curriculum every day. This is why we have to set ourselves apart. This is when you set yourself apart, right? You're not going to heal, right? This is why even watch this, even the 9-to-5s that we're trying to break people out of, or at least if you got a 9-to-5, you can travel around the world with it. Peep game. If you can't heal, if you don't have time to heal, how do you heal? Even your healing is contingent upon what? Baba Kasha, Betty, appreciate it. Thank you. Right? Even your healing is contingent upon your having freedom to heal. And a lot of us are not free. You have too much time dedicated to everything and everybody else outside of your community healing. You don't have the time to heal. No wonder you can't forgive. No wonder it's so difficult to forgive. Right? No wonder it's difficult to forgive. It's hard. Because you don't even have time. You and your child had a dispute 2 weeks ago. You and your child still ain't talked about it, but it still hurts what they said. You and your husband, you and your wife had a dispute. Y'all still ain't talked about it for 2 weeks, but it still hurts, but you ain't got time. So you just have to say, it's fine, whatever, okay, and keep on moving. But you still broken and you haven't been healed. Slave mentality. The kidnapper is doing everything they can to try and be as whole as they can be. But the kidnappee, you're not whole. Time nor even space. And I get that one. Like, I'm an introvert. Every once in a while, please give me some space. Like, please allow me to have some time, to where I can actually be by myself. Like, there is nothing greater. It rarely happens because I'm always going somewhere with somebody, doing something for somebody else. But there's nothing greater when I know that, like, I'm actually going to have like a day. Like, even if I find out last minute, it's cool. But if I know in advance, like, wait a minute, I'm gonna have this day, and I can just, like, nobody's gonna be here except me. Like, it happens very rarely for me, but when it happens, that's like great, because you know why? I get to actually check myself. I get to actually heal. I get to sometimes turn my brain off a little bit and be like, yo. So sometimes it's healing, where it's like how you need to fast from food. Sometimes you got to fast from information. So sometimes I'm just like, whoo, all right, like, I'm done information. Like, I don't need any information right now. I don't need to learn anything right now. I don't need, because if I don't get that, I'm not going to be any great for anybody else. So as much as Wednesdays is still a struggle for me, because I love being in front of you guys and giving you guys information and giving you guys these pearls we were talking about. Also, too, though, like, I'm glad that I get it, because in a sense, it at least gives me an opportunity to just turn stuff off and to deal with myself and to love myself and to love the Most High, and for the Most High to feed me personally. So where this isn't, okay, feed me because I got to feed everybody else. Help me to study because I got to make sure I got 7 things to teach today. Help me as far as patience, because I've got to talk to 7,000 people on the phone today, and I know a few of these conversations are not going to be what I want them to be. But sometimes you got to have that too. But it comes to healing yourself, and we don't have time. Right? Take time out to heal yourself. Some of y'all might have to get up 2 hours early because you got a lot of healing, but you might have to get up 2 hours early. And before you get up 2 hours early, and before you say, okay, well, I'm gonna get an early start on the children's lunch and this and that and all that, take some time out for yourself. Mamas, take some time out for yourselves. When's the last time that you did your hair, or you did your nails the way that you want them to be done, or you got somebody else to do? When's the last time you went out for a massage? Fellas, when's the last time you went just to play basketball? You didn't even call the fellas up. You just went to shoot. Right? When's the last time that you went to the pool hall, if that's what you do, right? For your babies, when's the last time that they got to go somewhere where they get to just be a baby? They don't have to worry about this. They don't have to worry. Like, when's the last time that you let your child go outside and your child wasn't afraid to do something because mom doesn't want them to scuff their shoes? Amen. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures, right? He leadeth me beside the still or the calm waters. Therefore he restoreth my soul. And therefore he can leadeth me down the path of righteousness for his name's sake. We can't go down the path of righteousness, which is right legal standing, for his name's sake, for his reputation, because we haven't taken time culturally to realize that he is our shepherd. We shall not want for anything. We shall not want anything else. Why? Because he forces us at times to lay down in the culture, right? He makes us to lie down in green pastures. It's not just that he leads us there to eat in the green pastures. That's what a lot of us go when we hear people preach. No, he makes me to lie down. At the place that I'm eating from, I need to lay in it. I need to rest in it. I need to rest in it. The calm waters, I need to drink from the spirit. That's what the water is, the spirit. Even the water can represent in dreams people. So even the people that I'm around need to be calm and secure and who they are and stuff like that. Then he can what? Restore it. That means continuously restore, bring back some things that are in me. In other words, this body is a storage unit. And I keep giving out things out of storage, but never putting anything back in. It would be terrible if you went to your grocery store, your Kroger's, your Safeway, your Giants, your Jewel Osco, your Sprouts, your Walmarts, your whatever, your Whole Foods, etc., your Piggly Wigglies, whatever, all over the place. And it would be a shame if you went there and they kept selling stuff, but they never restocked. If they never restock, then you can't give anything else out, and you can't have anybody that wants to come in eventually now because you've given everything else. Now there's no reason for anything to come back into you. So before you give everything out, there has to be time to where every day you're renewing your mind, really, and you're bringing back your culture. We restore, put back into storage my soul, my psychology. He restoreth my psychology, my soul. He leadeth me down the path. Now he can lead me down the path of righteousness for his name's sake. So that's why, yea, even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, it's not death, but it's a shadow. It looks like death. So even when I walk through things that look like death, I realize it's just a shadow. Therefore, I shall what? I shall fear no evil. Why? For thou art with me inside in the storage. I've kept restoring, right? Thou art with me. Your rod and your staff, they comforted me. The rod, which is used to be able to what? To be able to even hit chastisement, to give me a spanking sometimes. But I'd rather be spanked by you than spanked by the world. I'd rather be spanked by you than get spanked with 50 years time in prison. So your rod and your staff, they comforted me. Thou preparest a table in the presence of mine enemies. Right? You prepare a table, therefore, in the presence, not away from my enemies. You taught me to lay down where the blessing is and to eat where the blessing is. So sometimes even I've learned now that in the presence of mine enemies, the people that can't stand me, the presence of mine enemies, I'm able to sit there at the table, and you will anoint my head with oil. You will let them realize that I am royalty and I'm anointed. And as it's dripping down, they have to pour water into my cup or pour wine into my cup or whatever it is. And they have to keep pouring it until even my enemies have to watch this and sometimes partake in pouring honor into me to where my cup runneth over. That's a sign, that's a symbol that whoever I am at that table, I must be the person that's being honored. Thou prepares the table for me in presence of my enemies. Thou anoints my head with oil. My cup runneth over. So surely it's a promise. It is no doubt because of all those things that are in place culturally. Surely I'm not chasing constitutional things and mercy, but surely goodness and mercy shall what? Follow me, because I've taken care of me. Therefore, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the family or the house of Adon forever. When I'm dwelling in that house forever, and goodness and mercy follow me because I've gotten myself together. Now, guess what? Anybody I touch, anything I touch, anywhere that I go, wherever my foot treads, whatever situation I'm in, whatever money I do or don't have, etc., everything I touched must be taken care of. You said, how do you extend mercy? Once again, get mercy right within yourself. Follow Yah's word. See, once again, and I'm trying to take my leave, right? But I don't want to leave that question right there because that's a great question. You can't extend what you don't have. Thank you, Sister Sharice. You cannot extend what you do not have. Psalm 23 is not about your community. Psalm 23 is about getting yourself in order. Once you get yourself in order, wherever you we just talked about, it shall follow you, including mercy. So in order to be able to extend mercy, first, have you received mercy? Because if you've received mercy, it's almost impossible to not extend it. And if you do, it's a very wicked place to be. If you know, we sing all these songs and stuff, but do we really know when we say stuff like, it should have been me, it could have been me, if it wasn't for the blood, stuff like that? Well, if it wasn't for Yahshua dying for you, then how dare you not extend mercy? Right? But it follows me. It follows me. Because all the stuff we talked about is the Lord is my shepherd. Adon is my shepherd. Yahweh is my shepherd. Elohim is my shepherd. I shall not want. I shall not want is really in its most in the I guess in the most out front version of the definition, if you will. It's really speaking of I don't have a need for anything else. I don't lack anything, which means that everything that I'm walking around with from that point, I shall not want. Everything else in the verse is saying that Yahweh gives me all of those things, right? Which means that he will extend his mercy. I've talked about this before over and over, and I'll keep on saying this. One of the greatest things that the Vak HaKodash ever gave me was to help me to recognize, that the Most High, how am I going to say this? One of the greatest things that she ever gave was to have me to recognize that the reason why people get angry is not because somebody did wrong, but it's usually because somebody didn't do what you wanted them to do or what you think you would have done. So a lot of times we don't extend mercy because in our mind, you didn't do what I wanted you to do. How dare you not do what I didn't want you to do? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go off. I'm going to tell you ain't this, you ain't that, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to punish you, not give you mercy, but I'm going to punish you. I'm going to punish you for what you did not do or what I would have done. But mercy says, I recognize that you're a human being, that you can have faults, that you need forgiveness before you do it. I give you the right to do it. And therefore, I extend mercy. Sure, you deserve death. You deserve me cussing you out. You deserve me suing you, whatever it is, right? Sometimes you got to go through those things, maybe, but you deserve me doing those things. But I'm merciful. Why? Because I don't lack in mercy. I know I deserve more. I know I deserve hell according to the law, right? That's why the blood was necessary. The blood is one of the most important parts of the law, because none of us can make sure that we take care of the law altogether. And any of the laws that we break technically say that we deserve death. But the ultimate sacrifice of the blood, the mercy, says that, oh, even though I was doing wrong things, his mercy extends past my fault. His mercy is more powerful than my fault. His mercy is more than a conqueror, if you will. Any fault that I can come up with, as long as that fault is not blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, because blasphemy against the Holy Spirit says that I don't care about the one, or I don't listen to the one who extends mercy. So as long as I don't do that, right? As long as I don't think that I am Elohim, or I have the right to forgive the way that Elohim does, right? But I simply tap into his forgiveness, right? As long as I'm not doing anything like that, his mercy extends to everything in my life. His mercy extends to every person I've hurt. His mercy extends to every bad word I've said. His mercy extends to if I've killed somebody. His mercy extends to if I've cussed somebody out. His mercy extends to if I've killed somebody's reputation. His mercy extends to if I falsely accused the brethren. His mercy extends to where if I've ever thought that I was better than I actually am, or I'm better than him. His mercy extends to every single relationship that maybe I should have had a STD, or I should have died, or I was going out with somebody and this happened, or I was in a very abusive relationship, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. Whatever. His mercy extends to all of those things. His mercy extends to if I was messing around with the same sex. His mercy extends to if I believe that Jesus was the way, the truth, and the life. His mercy extends to any of these things. His mercy extends to if I was in the occult. His mercy extends to if you were a devil worshiper. His mercy extends to somebody place. His mercy extends to if you were an atheist. His mercy extends to if you aren't even listening to what I'm saying right now. His mercy extends. So when you realize what his mercy is and you walk around with it, now everything that you walk around with, what follows you, which means that his mercy follows you. That's why some of these things I said this earlier, and I'll say it again. I said this last night. I think I said this in the ministerial training. I might have said this during our discipleship class, possibly. I know I said it in a one-on-one I had with somebody yesterday. Look, when it comes to this stuff we're doing, some of these things that we need to do, they come through your acting upon it. Some of this stuff I could tell you till I'm blue in the face. You could read it. You could read it in multiple languages. You could know Paleo Hebrew. You could preach it better than I could. Thank you, Ransom. You could teach it better than I could. At the end of the day, though, some of this stuff you have to do it. And sometimes we say, how do I extend mercy? How do you do that? You know what? Can I be honest with you? And I don't know if I'm really answering the question or not, but real talk. Real talk. You ready? Sometimes you got to grit your teeth and just do it. It's not supposed to feel good to extend mercy all the time. I mean, Christ extended mercy on the cross. You think it felt good? He experienced sin that he never even participated in, or he never partook in it, but had to participate in it. Didn't feel good. But sometimes you just got to do it. I wish I could explain it, but sometimes you got to do it. Like some people be waiting for me and they want to have these long conversations. We got to plan this out and let's do this. And when are you going to do this? And blah, blah, and this and that. Look, I'm not saying that I don't need to be better in project management and stuff, but I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes the answer when somebody's like, well, why are we doing this? And why are we doing it? I'm led. What you mean you led? You can't tell me every single detail. Look, I can give you vision. I can give you a lot of details, but sometimes the answer is you're going to have to trust me. Sometimes the answer is just do it. And I'm not trying to say, because I'm always a guy that says study this stuff, see if it makes sense, blah blah. But sometimes you will not. That's what we talk about with sovereignty. You will never really comprehend what sovereignty is until you have to do it. Right? When you're standing in front of the judge, or when you're standing out there and you're trying to figure out where your next meal is coming from, or when you got a whole community on your shoulders and they're like, yo, when we gonna get the land? When we gonna get the land? When we gonna get the land? You said it's in October. Okay, do we have enough money? Blah blah. Like you're going to have some principles in place and in order that says, yo, this is what I do. Right? And you won't learn it until you do it. Right? They go out, they send disciples out 2 by 2, wiping the dust from their feet, praying for people feeding them, doing all this stuff. But they get to this one demon, they can't get it to come outside the person. They can't deal with the demon possession and expel the demon. All of a sudden, Christ comes, he does it. They say, how in the world did you do that? How in the world did you do that? He said, some things come with prayer and fasting. And he talked about them lacking faith. You know what that meant? That meant that they had seen him fast and that they seen him pray, but because they wouldn't do it, they weren't able to heal the person. There's some things that come because you do it. Right? Somebody just said, like Nike, just do it. Some things will happen because you do. Some things are not going to happen because they are planned out properly. Some things happen because you do. Right? Create the computer. Create the desktop computer, and then watch Apple go ahead and be able to be sold. But if you don't create the computer, if you first say, I'm not going to create the computer until y'all give me the money for it, or I'm not going to create the computer until I know how I'm going to sell it, or if you say, I'm not going to create the computer until I know this and that or whatever, then you have nothing to sell. There are some people that are waiting for stuff, but you need to have something. Where's your blueprint? Have something. You need to right? And all the stuff we're about to send out. Some of you didn't get it yet, but the stuff that you're about to get, again, check your emails throughout the day. Right? I know everybody didn't get it, but the stuff that's coming up for the event, some of this stuff, like we've been doing and stuff like that, I'm putting it on me. Some stuff we knew we had to change this and that or whatever, but I was trying to do this and I'm trying to see if this is perfect, blah, blah. Guess what? Sometimes you just gotta do it. Sometimes it's just like, I don't know how to explain it. People say, how do you make money? How do you and your wife make money? How are you doing this? Yeah, we have certain principles. We can share the tools, this and that. But some of this stuff is just because we did it. I can't explain to you what gets somebody to get to a place to where you keep getting tens of thousands of people to follow you and they keep taking it down over and over again. How you get millions of views on YouTube and take it down, but you still get people to follow. And you sometimes shut down where you only got 20-something people listening to you when you had, at one point you had 10,000 people at a time that might listen to you, and you got to start over again. I can't tell you how we keep making that work and how we've continued where things have grown and grown and grown. And yet we sacrificed where there might be a month where it seems like nothing's coming in. And all of a sudden, Yah takes care of everything, and bills are taken care of. And we use sovereignty things to make sure that we can do this and that or whatever, and hold people accountable and this and that or whatever, and always remain honorable. I don't know how to explain how everything works. I just know do the work according to the law and watch these things happen. That's all I can tell you is some of this stuff you got to do it. And that's why we talked about spiritual food distribution. Just like there's gene food distribution, there needs to be spiritual food distribution. Some of this stuff you just ain't done it. It's not that it doesn't work. It's just done it. You said there are inventors in rural Africa making a way out of nothing. Yeah. And they do it. If there's a need, do it. I can't explain. There's something Dr. Eric Thomas said, motivational speaker, right? E.T. the hip hop preacher. He says something. He says, I can't explain this to you. He said, but I know this, winners win. He said, I really can't explain that to you. Winners win. He said, I can tell you there's a bunch of tools and this and that or whatever, but I promise you at the end of the day, look, winners win. And it seems to be something where it's like, yeah, but tell me the, and look, I understand, break down the winner thing, show us this. And he does some of that too, right? He doesn't just give you the motivation thing and then never teach. He actually teaches some of the principles and writes books on it and gives seminars and has people that are trained to be able to train other people and stuff. So they give you some of the way, right? Because he's the way, the truth, and the life. But the truth of the matter is, before we even talk about the way and the life you need to live, is that sometimes winners win. Kingdom is kingdom. There's some things in the kingdom that I can tell you about, but there's some things that, look, in your kingdom, you know what kingdom is, right? I wish I could beat around the bush with that, but there's just some things. Look, when I see it, I know that's kingdom, right? And I know I'm supposed to do it. I know, like, you get around certain people, you feel what you feel. Right? That intuition. There's certain things to where you're going to, oh, sorry, we lost. We lost TikTok for a second. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Somebody was trying to call in. But we're about to take our lead. But I just want to say that there comes to be a certain point to where, like, you got to do it. Have a vision so that you know what you're doing is based off of. But it comes a certain point where you're going to have to just do what you're supposed to do, or take that jump, leap. You know, you know, be willing to leap, trust your parachute. You know, whatever. Right? All these different things you hear. At a certain point, you got to just do it. I don't know why. Well, I know why. Some right, but I can't tell you every intricate detail. I'm just telling you, if Yahweh said it, I do it. People want to ask about all these things. Look, if Yahweh said it, we do it. So that being said, thank you. Hopefully, you guys got something out of that. I believe that was an excellent word. It wasn't exactly where I plan on going today, but we're thankful and grateful. I actually thought we were going to talk about America today, in the sense we did, right? But we thank you all. We appreciate it. Amen. My wife says, winners stick to the formula, discipline, just do it. Right. You know, so we thank you guys. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. We honor you. We respect the king and queen in each and every one of you. Please check out my wife once again, the Honorable Maya. You can follow her on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. We thank you so much for listening in today. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate your perspectives. We appreciate your efforts. We hope to see you guys again tomorrow. Don't forget, Sunday is fast approaching. Sunday is going to be when we go at 2:00 p.m. Eastern New York time. Be on Zoom. We should have the link shared with everybody for those who are going to join us for Pentecost or Shabbat. So 50 weeks, Feast of Weeks, 50 weeks, or 50 weeks. 50 days, excuse me, after we've had Passover, we will have that ceremony. So we're excited, and we're thankful and grateful. Don't forget, today is the first Friday of the month. So please go out, ma'am, please, sir. Go out and check in with somebody. If you give them $1, some cents, a sandwich, a hug, a call, whatever you can do to be a blessing to somebody, we ask that you do it. That's what we're trying to do as a community, to build that together. We appreciate you so very much. We thank you. Those who have class later, we can't wait to see you guys later on. Hopefully everybody has gotten their packages by now. Some people, my wife is asking for everybody to actually get in touch with her by Thursday last week. Some people have still recently asked about it. So if you didn't get your package, it just might be because it might not get to you by today. We do apologize for that, but that's why we do things and even have recordings, so where you'll be able to listen to stuff later on. So those who have class tonight for Introduction to Herbalism, we're excited and grateful and thankful for that. I'll be in front of you guys again later at 8:00 p.m. Eastern New York time. Continue to be a supporter on Patreon and look for things coming out on that. We will have October 14th through 16th stuff for those who didn't get it yet. That'll be sent out to you as well. So everybody should hopefully have it by the end of today. If not, bare minimum by Saturday. Everybody should have that. The price and everything will be on there. And if you have more than one person coming or whatever, we'll have details on there for you to be able to contact us, and we can talk through the amount of people that are coming, this, that, the third. Yeah, but that's all we have for you. We appreciate it. We look forward to being in front of you more times. We keep Minister Kevin in prayer, who's supposed to be starting up his taking over for the Shabbat Shalom services coming up. So we're excited and grateful for that. We appreciate you all for being on. Thank you so much for being patient with us. We have been traveling so much, and I have literally, like, legit, yesterday I was knocked out. I believe we've traveled something like 40. Well, not believe, I know. Let's see. 10 hours. 18. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. So about 20 hours there, 30 hours or so. Yeah, so we've traveled a good 40 hours or so, and we still got to before we finally got to have about 7 to 10 days at the most before we start traveling again. So we're thankful and grateful for everybody who's been patient with us. Thank you to all those who are working behind the scenes to make sure stuff happens. We look forward to talking to you all again very soon, and we're thankful and grateful to each and every one of you who are on with us. We are excited about where the Most High has us going, and we look forward to being a blessing to you all. please take time out to check out the businesses that we have and everything, and all that going on. I'll be talking to Minister Tamara very shortly, or at least texting her something, so we can have a price for these shirts for you all to have. The price might be a little more than what average, but once again, we're using it as a fundraiser and stuff like that. But we're thankful and grateful for all these different things that are going on. Somebody going through some relationship issues, I guess. We pray for them. Hopefully everything's all right. But but long story short, amen. Amen. Sorry, I said a little prayer. Sometimes people going through things, you can just pray for them. But anyways, thank you. Oh, okay. Amen. All right, Minister Tamara went ahead and said she's going to have to Shopify and stuff up, or whatever. So, okay, she'll give me the information, I guess, and we'll be able to give it to you all, or maybe she'll be able to put it in the chat, etc., or we'll do both. But thank you. We appreciate you all. And hopefully you all have a great, outstanding day. We know that some of us have demanding days, but you are stronger than any demands that you feel are being put on your shoulders. You are more than conquerors, and make sure that you are disciplined disciples in that, so that you can always be more than what the enemy thinks that they're going to use against you. Thank you so much, though. We appreciate it. We honor you. We look forward to you guys. We're thankful and grateful. If you want any information with us, if you're on YouTube right now, just look in the description box with the video. If you were on TikTok right now and you'd like to have more information about what we are doing, all you got to do is go to our main TikTok page. If you look at where it says bio, it's a little bit of our information. If you look where it says website, click on that. That's our link tree. The link tree has a lot more information and a lot of different ways. If you're somebody even that wants to give, as far as some people give time, talent, effort, energy, prayers, etc. Feel free to, if you want to do that. But also, if you're somebody, some of you give donations, some of you give offerings, some of you bless us with tithes. If you want any of that stuff, it hits you, whatever. If you want to just learn how to do some of this stuff on your own, if you want to do one-on-one coaching, marital coaching, etc., we appreciate you, we honor you, and we're thankful. If it's myself or even one of the other ministers on the staff, we'd love to be able to help you and use what we have. So we bless you, we thank you, we honor you, we appreciate you. May Yah's strength be upon thee and everything that you do. May everything that you touch be yours, because he's given you dominion over it. May you be a conduit to allow him and his will to be able to come to the earth. And as things that are done in heaven, they be done the same way on earth. And may this daily bread, this manna, reach you exactly where it needs to reach you. In Yahweh's name, we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect this message. Amen. Thank you, everybody. As always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice to the voiceless and speaking the unspoken, until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, Yahshua, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in the system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, fam. And in case I don't see you after 6 p.m., Shabbat Shalom, early. Peace. Shalom.